What up, what up, what up? We back on tonight. It's Thursday. It's been about 2 weeks since our last episode. I'm looking forward to tonight's conversation with Clyde, K, and I. Excited to have K back on. Should be on shortly. Me and Clyde about to kick things off. Hope everybody's feeling well tonight. Hope the week is going good for everyone. And let's dive into this conversation and I'm figure out how to take this one thing off. All right, boom, there we go. I'm about to go ahead and bring Clyde on real quick.
Yo.
What's up, bro?
What's going on with you, brother?
Same old.
No one know. Chilling. It been one of them days today, bro.
Today been pretty cool, bro. It's been chill. All right. It was long, but
it was definitely been cool, and my week has been better since I left that other job.
What's it been, like a week now? 2 weeks?
Yeah, a week and a half.
How you liking the new joint?
Oh, I left it.
New joint?
Yeah, I couldn't do it, bro. It was too much.
Which one? That was a night joint?
Yeah, the overnight joint.
Right.
Boy, that joint wore me out. Boy, I was sleeping all day. All day. I couldn't do it, bro.
Hey, that overnight shift a killer, bro. That overnight shift is a killer.
Yep. So now I'm back at home, staying up all night. But now I just work at night. Like, I just be getting my thoughts out and doing all that. You feel me?
It's different, bro. It's a different type of energy. You know what I'm saying? You can work in the crib and be on your laptop while you're falling asleep or something like that, or finish up a design or something, putting something down, writing some notes on a book or something like that. But
in a warehouse,
you clock in.
I'm like, what am I doing? What am I doing, bro?
It literally feel like time slow down on night shift for me. I did night shift for like 10 years.
I did it for like 4. Man, I said, oh, nah. And then the shift was crazy. 6 o'clock to 4:30.
I wasn't too bad, I think. I think if I remember, it was 7 on, 7 off. So it'd be 7 days on, 7 days off. But your sleep pattern was thrown off, man. Like every time you when you off, and by the time you get adjusted, you're 4 days into it. It's time to get readjusted to start going back with a night shift. So it was, and then not to mention everything being done on the weekend that you work and not the weekend that you off. So
yeah, that's crazy.
And then you get off. You can't go out and go grab a drink with nobody, go chill because everybody at work.
So then you up by yourself.
Yeah, man. Nah, what up though? Tonight we doing part 2 of you still got that child in you. Ain't nothing major. I guess I want to dive a little deeper into it because I think that week was that was a rough week that week. You kind of went off topic a little bit. Time. So I figure I'll bring it back around and touch on some things more in depthly.
Might even get Kate.
Huh?
Kate gonna keep us on track tonight, man.
Hey, I know she always do. And she gonna bring that energy.
Yeah.
She gonna bring that energy. Hey, let me know if you see anybody comment, bro, because I got the full screen up so I can see.
All right, that's a bet. Yeah, I got a whole new. Man, I'm gonna just wait. I got a whole new outlook on this topic for real.
Well, what we talked about last week?
Yeah, because I've been really digging. I've been doing some soul searching. Feel me? Like, so I done found some things out I never realized before. So it kind of opened my eyes up.
It was the shadow work, or was it just
This is shadow work, period, and just discovering some things about my life and my attachment styles and stuff like that. Like,
yeah, that conversation kind of had me in the same place, bro. So I'm interested in what you know what I'm saying, where you coming from with it. What was the first thing? Like, how did that look for you though? How did you stumble upon that process? How did you stumble upon like what your hiccups were?
I kind of just was like doing what I normally do, you know, expressing myself, trying to express myself and how I feel or whatever. I was having a conversation with a person and I heard some things in the conversation that kind of made me feel like, okay, this person is just not gonna understand where I'm coming from. So
Uh,
how about I just back up? So then I'm starting to think like, hold on, this kind of behavior is low key narcissistic. So I'm like, okay, so now I'm acting like I don't work in mental health. Now I'm researching. I'm like, okay, all the signs are there. All right,
mm.
that's what it is. So then I was like, how you deal with it, how it make you feel. I was like, oh yeah. This whole time I've been ignoring it. Like it's crazy, bro.
But it's funny though because you say you ignoring them, but you really ain't. You don't, like for me anyway, because it's just something you don't feel like needs addressing. It's just something you feel like your perspective
That
of
part.
it, at the surface of it is like, oh yeah, it did. That's what it is. Oh yeah, I can see how that is. But then you dig into it, you're like, oh no, that is why. You know,
Mm-hmm.
that's exactly why.
It's
I think on my perspective, bro, I realized that a lot of talking about this topic, it made me realize how much of my life was shaped throughout my childhood. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the majority of my thinking pattern. That's the way it was shaped. You know what I mean? So my responses, the things like that. So how you interact with relationships, like you said, the attachments. You know, like as far as
everything plays a part.
you know what I mean. So what you touch on, what you get to. You don't got to talk about all of it. What's that major you hit?
That was major, bro. So now I'm at a place where like that has been a big hindrance for me because I've been kind of clinging on to that relationship as we do. Like sometimes we just do. We cling on to certain relationships because we feel like it's best or what we should do because of a person's title or whatever.
Mm.
So we feel like we gotta do it. We gotta do this. Where in actuality we don't. For real, for real. You can learn to coexist separately
Yeah, yeah,
and still, you know what I'm saying, be respectful and still do what's best for you. So that's kind of where I'm at with it right now. Not saying too much, but
yeah, yeah. I got you. I can dig it. I definitely feel where you're going with that. I think. Nah, I think. I mean, I kind of had the same. But I had similar. Like now I'm 40, bro. I sit back and think about like all my relationships, like even being married. Like my wife and I are in marriage counseling now. So and then on top of that, I'm glad I'm in marriage counseling and also doing therapy. You know what I'm saying? Because then, especially when you're dealing with situations like marriage counseling, man, like those feelings, you get your body reacts in a certain type of way in high stress situations, right? So it's when
mm-hmm,
you in a space of when you're trying to take care of something in the now, you really got to stay in the place with another person. You really got to stay in the pace of the present, right? That makes sense. If you
mm-hmm,
can't kind of go back and have a conversation on yesterday's argument, like you can say how it made you feel, but bringing it up, there's really no way you can express that without kind of talking down to the other person. You know what I'm saying? It's like so, and then talking about it in that way, where you're not in your feelings, you're able to communicate in a space where and hear the other person too, right? But it's weird how life happened, bro, because we grow and we change and we we shift into a different person every 10 years, 5 to 10 years. And you don't even know yourself. So trying to make it work with somebody else, you're in a space where like, you can get frustrated sometimes, especially in a place of marriage. So I'm thankful that I'm in a position now where I accept therapy and marriage counseling and things like that. And I'm starting to see in a space now where it's like, okay, how I can feel this way in my counseling session. But then
mm-hmm.
we go ahead and talk it out in my therapy session. You know what I'm saying? If I can't figure it out for myself. And getting to that space now, I didn't realize until marriage counseling, like the type of like how what my attachment issues were. You know what I'm saying? Like as far as like I guess like just being just how I move in relationships. You know what I'm saying? Like just how certain things impact me. Some things bother me, some things don't. You know what I'm saying? Like some things could slide, but then a small thing annoy me, or something that trigger you in a space. You like I don't know why. You know what I'm saying? Like we get in a space where somebody can say something like like I hate you, I'm done, I'm out in a moment of anger, right? But then somebody who's traumatized now at the end of it, when they're dealing with that trauma, they taking it like, oh, you meant that shit. Like you really meant what you just said. So I don't care if you're mad or not, I'm gonna take it out. But then when you take out the feelings and emotions out of all that and the response in your nervous system, when you're able to talk about it, then you kind of see like, oh shit, we both was tripping. You know what I'm saying? Like you like what's the issue at, and then you can sit back and kind of handle it. But before that, man, I didn't realize like you easily can walk out of a relationship and be like it was all that other person's fault or it's all your fault, all that and blaming, right? But when you sit back and look at it, in my perspective, bro, like everybody got their bag and got their stuff and everything. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was some things that I didn't notice that kind of impacted the other person, right? But for some reason, it could be toxic as hell. But you're staying there, right? You're just like, well, why am I attached to this stuff? Why am I still staying here knowing it's like, okay, yeah, I'm tired of arguing with this person, but I don't want nothing else. You know what I'm saying? Like, so, and then you start to think like, why am I okay with that?
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
What's up,
That makes
Kay?
sense.
Kay just popped on. What up?
Come on in the
Ready,
room.
Yo.
Hey.
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 What up? Welcome back.
Hey, y'all. Hey, y'all.
How you feeling?
You know, today was a decent day.
You look good. You look like you're feeling good.
Thank you.
I was football practice today. Was all right?
We're supposed to play a real tough team on Saturday, so it was definitely intense for them.
Who y'all got?
RDU, the number 2 in the nation.
The Rockets?
RDU?
Yeah, Rockets, Black Rockets.
I don't know.
Yeah,
they're number 2 in the nation.
They decent. We why do you no that you right. You said what, Jay? Yeah, you're right. YDA is the Rockets. Wrong one. Different team. Yeah. Okay. Now we had
Yeah, they're from Atlanta.
Oh yeah, they come. Y'all playing on that on Sunday? Is that Sunday?
Saturday.
Where y'all playing at? Like what? Fort Washington, somewhere out that way, Oxon Hills.
Everything that we play is out that way or Virginia.
Okay, yeah. I seen that thing. I want to check.
We're supposed to be coming down your way, Clyde. We're supposed to be in Virginia Beach next weekend on the 15th.
On a Saturday.
Sunday.
I wish it was Saturday. I got a wedding Sunday.
The 15th?
Yep, 7 hours. I'm booked for a wedding.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Dope. Y'all, what's that? The battle? Y'all in the battle tournament? Okay.
No, this is just a showcase.
Showcase. Oh, and the showcase this week, and I think y'all do play at the same field that City Life and what's them boys out of Atlanta playing?
Yes, it's DMV versus ATL.
Oh, okay,
that's crazy. That's gonna be dope.
I gotta check that Red Breeze and City Life game for 12U at 8 o'clock.
Yeah, that's gonna be good. That's gonna be
real good. We want to check that one out. City Life beat our ass. We got something for them though.
Oh, we beat y'all ass. Y'all ain't had nothing for us neither.
Yeah, they got something now though. The whole order look different. The players kind of came in, so y'all did get us. I don't know what they're doing right now though. I know we won 1-1. 1-2-1. You know, 1-2-1. We lost 2. So after Saturday. So now we were talking a little bit about finished off last weekend. We was talking about you still got that child in you. Talking about some of the way traumas kind of shaped your adult life, not realizing, kind of the impacts of your childhood and how that shaped you into a person. So today we're going part 2 with that, where it's just diving into childhood programming a little bit. You know what I'm saying? And I'm glad you hopped on because it kind of saved me from a rant. So it's just talking about Clyde was talking about how our last conversation kind of sparked something to him where he started doing the shadow work and started to figure some things out about himself. He went into detail about a little bit of it. And the way where he was saying got me to thinking like that I was kind of in the same space this week. You know what I'm saying? Like since our last conversation, and realizing why I'm moving the way I move in certain relationships and things like that. And up to now, where some of the things I'm realizing now in marriage counseling, that I haven't even realized throughout all the therapy and all the work that I've been doing over the years. Like, it's still things unraveling where you just like, oh, okay, and it makes sense, right? So it's like Clyde was saying, like where he came and like how he recognized the impact and where he was now with that space. You ever have, how you feel about that, kid?
So
It's
it's so crazy. There's actually most of the time, when you go into things like therapy, they say, okay, well, let's start from the beginning. Like it's a reason, because you got to remember that when you're an adult, a lot of things that you do is the things that you're conditioned to do based off of from wherever it started, from wherever that part started from. And it's usually from somewhere in your childhood, even if you don't know it.
Right.
They say, let's just talk about parenting. They like, you parent how you were parented. So either it's things you do because your parents did it, or things you don't do because your parents did it and it made you feel a certain way. And you were like, we always be like, when I grow up, I'm never going to make my kids eat their spinach, things like that, things you didn't like. So, I think a lot of what, and that just comes from progression. Like a lot of the things that start with you, that start with you as a child, they stay with you, whether they stay with you and that's why you move the way you move, or they stay with you and that's why you avoid certain things. You know what I'm saying? Your mind is programmed. That's just like a child that's never, you can tell kids that have been popped by the belt and kids that haven't been popped by the belt, because
No, that's facts. That's facts.
I'm 40 years old. My mother moved across the room too fast.
Right.
I'm like, you know what I'm saying? My kids don't know that. Or even babies, you can tell what a baby that's been dropped and the one that hasn't, because certain babies, you make certain movies and they gripping you tight. You know what I'm saying? I think as an adult, like that's what life looks like for us. We're that baby that has had something happen to us and we're reacting to it. We're gripping it tight. You know what I'm saying? We're either reacting to it in fight or flight, or we're reacting to it in avoidance.
That's facts, man. That's facts. But it's what Clyde, you about to say something? What you about to say?
Agree. That's it. That's it.
No, that's facts. So it was like in thought where I came across a couple of things on Instagram that was talking about it, and it got me planning like what is like first thing you start off like, what is childhood programming? Like, what does programming look like to a human being? You know what I'm saying? Like, we all know Pavlov's dog experiment and things like that. If you study a little bit of psychology, you kind of know how you kind of get an idea how things can work. But looking at it at this phase where it's like what is childhood programming, right? You look at where does it come from? You're getting it from like you said, you're getting it from everything you're taking in your parents, school, the things you're seeing, the way you're smelling, like your experiences and all that. But it gets deeper because, like, how do you transition that feeling and those things you learn now and think about that now in the present form about what you've learned? That makes sense. Like, so to think about it, like getting to these questions where, and I was reading Psychology Today. It was an article, they were talking about like different signs of that you're dealing with a little bit of that childhood programming trauma. Like, you're trying to get out of it, you're trying to break free from it, feeling like it's not something that you like anymore, but you're programmed to do it. It's a habit that you do daily. And now, you're getting frustrated with yourself. Now you got to deprogram yourself and what that process looks like. So getting into a place, man, where what does it look like, right? What does that type of trauma look like from childhood programming is where you're underestimating your potential, and so believing that whatever successes you've had are large. I couldn't even get it out. Underestimating your potential, and so believing that whatever successes you have had are largely fortuitous and not really reflective of your capability. When I sit back and I think about that's you feel those. I felt a lot of that. You know what I'm saying? Like, even up to this time, where you just feel like it kind of puts you in a place of self-sabotage, right? Because you're like, oh, that was luck. That wasn't me. That was something that just happened. It ain't gonna never happen again. And then you kind of put yourself in a bad, I guess, frequency space. You know what I mean? Like, so.
Or even when you look at things like in comparison. So, like, we're adults now, and we got to remember, like you said, in reprogram, we got to remember that the world that I read something that said we have to stop trying to raise our kids based off the world that we were raised in, because that no longer exists.
That no longer exists.
Our kids look at us like, why are you acting like that? And we're like, because our intuitiveness is foreseeing things that you don't understand. Whole time it looks like they already understand it right now, because where it didn't happen to us until we were older or till we got in certain circumstances, it happens to them as soon as they walk out the door. Like, we didn't experience bullying to the magnitude that they experienced things, or just the factor of, nowadays we are getting back to a genre of Black love and couples and relationship, and letting our kids see us in healthy relationships. But in our genre, that was less of a thing. But in our parents' genre, that was a big thing. So we got skipped there. So where we're looking at things like, damn, like I'm such and such years old, and this is where I should be at in life. Like, by the time I was here, my parents was doing this, but we don't realize that, like, life looks different for us. Trying to achieve certain things look different for us, so we should not. And like that self-sabotaging come in, where I was a single mother, and I just said this to myself the other day, like, man, I was a single mom. I had all these obstacles in front of me that when my mom was faced with these obstacles, she did not have the help. Meanwhile, I had I was blessed to have, two great dads that stepped in when my kid's dad stepped out. Like, I was blessed to have that. So, because nowadays stepdaddyism is a thing. Like, dudes are okay with being dudes are okay with being it wasn't like that back then. Or and that means that I'm okay with being a stepdaddy, and we're not married. Like, before, back in our day, you couldn't be stepdaddy if you wasn't married. Like, it looks different. It's things where, we compare things from the past to things right now, things from our childhood, and we gauge where we should be at life, or where, places, that milestones that we should have hit, and we forget. Like, example, I remember you said to me not too long ago, Dev, when I was going through, like, trying to figure out, like, just my mental space, and you was like, you got to remember how old you are. You are already at your halfway point. Back in the day, this is not the halfway point. This is the quarter point.
It's a quarter point.
Because people lived to 90. That was easy. Now, our life expectancy is like 70 at best.
Yeah.
So I'm already halfway. So me looking at where I'm at and milestones, my milestones, I'm looking at, like, dang, I'm this and I got, and you're like, bro, you're at your midlife crisis because you're already midway through your life. And I'm like, damn, I am. If not further. But it's because, when I was a child, this was an age that was still, like, we still got it's still plenty of life left in us.
Yeah.
Now, I got friends that's 20, 30 years old going into cardiac arrest.
Having strokes.
My homegirl would have turned 30 yesterday and didn't make it. You know what I'm saying? Like, when it's a cardiac arrest, like, that wasn't normal when we were, you know what I'm saying, when our parents were 30.
Yeah.
So those are just small traumas. And then on top of the things that we got to remember is just that even it would, like, discipline and look differently. And so us trying to remove the way we were disciplined, and trying to discipline the way we would, like, it's unacceptable. We can go to jail for disciplining like we were disciplined. So it, all that stuff, and it does something to us, because it's like, okay, well, where do we get protected? Where do we feel like, all right, we're doing something right? Because everything that we're used to doing is unacceptable, or everything that I'm thinking I should be hitting, I haven't hit it yet. Like, just all those things of, like, where do I fit in? I think it just boils down to, like, damn, like, how do I desensitize myself from thinking with my young mind, and realize with my day mind that, that's not what it is no more. Like, it's different.
That was supposedly, I think that was the same meme I seen where you mentioned earlier. But it said you have to prepare your kids as best you can for what you haven't experienced, because they're not going to have the same experiences you had. You didn't have the same experiences your parents had, and your parents didn't have the same as your grandparents. It was something around that way. That nature.
Right.
But that's real, man, because I remember when I was working at a pharmacy. I was working at Neighbor Care in a warehouse, and then we had drivers coming in, and it was an older white guy, and me and him he worked for like the Capitol. They were always dressed up, always real kept together, real gray hair, nicely kept. He had his own business by being, by transporting medication back and forth. So he did it on his free time. So he was like, I was in school at the time, but he was talking to me as if I wasn't in school. And he said something like, you need to get in school. That's the only way you're going to make it. And I was like, man, like, this ain't the only way. Like, that was for your generation. But, bro, like, it's something different happening where I was, where I know friends are coming out with that master's and making the same amount that I'm making right now. You know what I mean? So I'm like, that's not, I used to get into major arguments about that, right? But then it started to see as I'm getting older, it's like, man, like, no, nothing has been the same in the last 5 generations. You know what I'm saying? Like, nothing.
Like how it was not this many Black-owned businesses when we were our kids' age. You know what I'm saying? If they were like cultural. Like I had an uncle that was from Ghana and he came over here and was selling African pieces. So it wasn't like it was like, you know, it was just cultural stuff. But now we are really doing our own thing. Like it's just so much for us to revamp ourselves and try, like, you know, we are literally at a point where we're trying to keep up with the time that we're in right now. And I think that's but that's like, if you think about a prisoner that has been institutionalized for a long time, and then they come into a new world that they're unfamiliar with, and they try to make it in this new world with old methodology. You know what that like, we know what that feels like. We know what it feels like to be like, damn, how come this don't make sense to nobody else? Like, why am I tripping, or you know what I'm saying? Like
So I think we
does
touched on
something
that.
to you.
We touched on that last show, right? Where at last episode we were talking about like being, it's a state of institutionalization. If I can get it out right. Struggling bad today. But it is, because when I sit back and think about some of the, like, where I came to a place where I kind of just felt like, you realize like you've been living in like a mental jail. And what was that, Clyde, we talked about? What do we call it? Like getting stuck at the point of your trauma or the experience that dramatically changed your life. A lot of us get stuck in that space, man, and you can't grow past it. So on the outside, on the exterior, you're looking like a 40-year-old man, 41-year-old man, but you're still stuck in that space trying to figure out how to get around that issue that happened when you was 10, or when you was 14, or when you was 16. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, like it's tough because you are in like a mental prison. You're not really living when you're in that space. You're worried about everything from every angle. You're feeling everything from every angle. You know, you're thinking about everything from every angle. You know, you're hard on yourself because now you can't make the same mistakes that you made before. Not realizing that life is a process of making mistakes, because honestly, like your journey, nobody has really ever done your journey or what you're called for, what you're called to experience. So, like, I think we get ourselves in that space too. You know what I mean? Like a lot of times, because off of what our parents or grandparents, their traumas that have been passed down throughout their generational, not curses, but generational expectations. You know what I'm saying?
I definitely think that we
Curses.
get stuck. I definitely think we get stuck in being alive, so much so that we do not experience living. You know what I'm saying?
It's not
We get stuck. We
it's
get so
that,
stuck in
yeah.
being alive. Like that's anxiety. It is anxiety for us to be like, okay, don't make this mistake. Okay, don't do this. Like, especially when we know every move we make, we're tiptoeing with it. You know what I'm saying? That is anxiety, and we're so busy trying to make sure we don't mess up that we are not living. We are trying to not mess up while we're alive, and we are not living. Like, don't get bad credit. Don't get this. Don't get that. Man,
Not realizing in this generation, and this generation,
bad credit in my grandparents' time meant you owed the man down the corner at the store $40 for some shit that you didn't pay for, and he gave it to you on the honor system, and you paying him back. You know what I'm saying? That bad credit for us means I got a degree that I'm not using. And I'm trying to pay thousands and thousands of dollars back on it, while you're taking
loans,
thousands and thousands of dollars out of the thousands of dollars, out of the hundreds of dollars that I'm making. You know what I'm saying? Like, that is what life looks like. It's literally being in a deficit. And I think that's where adults end up having so much trauma. We are stuck in a deficit that's dated back, or that stems from our mind being caught and being traumatized when we were children. We are stuck. That's a deficit for us because
Yeah.
we did not grow past. There's things that I have not grown past from being 4, 5, 6, 7 years old, and in therapy now they give me, like, that's one of the things I work with my therapist is we're trying to figure out what things is it my mind holding on to, and what things is it my subconsciousness holding on to? Because it's two different things. My mind's holding on to things that I'm and that looks like protection for me. My
Yeah.
subconscious is holding on to things that's trauma, and that's the
Yeah.
flight part. That's the part that I'm being avoidant of. That's the part I'm trying to make sure, like, that's the part that I keep getting triggered on. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And so this is the part that's holding me back. The part that I have come to the realization of, I've dealt through, I've healed through, I'm good there. But this part right here, this is the part that got me stuck. And I'm like, yo, how can I move forward? How can I be happy with someone when I'm still stuck right here?
Trying to figure
And,
out.
and
Yeah.
now, but then where I'm losing at is I'm transferring that trauma to them. You know what I'm saying? Now my partner got trust issues because I got trust issues, so they feel like they should have trust issues. Because if I don't trust you, if you don't trust me and I ain't done nothing, why? Because you did something, and you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah. It's a
that
never ending cycle.
transference sets in.
But
And
that's the point.
that could be your partner, that could be your kids, that could be your friends. You know
You're
what I'm
right.
saying?
But I'm sitting there tripping because, you know, like, in the space of like 10 years in this year, November, with my wife and I, right? And then through our counseling, we just realizing, like, damn, like we both are in the space of figuring out who we are, what makes us tick. You know what I'm saying? Because we've both been living lives of trauma. You know what I'm saying? Like, in a space of traumatic responses, and we're finally getting to a space where it's like, and then it's weird, right? Because naturally you want to be in a space where you're like, I'm not putting this work in, right? But then you have to, right? Because that's the only time you're gonna make. That's the only way chance you have of making it fair. You know what I'm saying? Because now you get to a space where you recognize, like, okay, like, yes, you have your faults, I have my faults. If you both people are in a space where you really are wiping the slate clean and you moving forward, and you're actively learning who you are in that space, nothing but goodness can come out of that space. You know what I'm saying? As far as separation, you know what I'm saying? Like, even if, like, God forbid, like, things don't work out, right? But it's in a space where there are married couples who I understand now when they say they walk away and be friends, right? Because they're at peace with whatever it is that happened in that space, right? But so many of us aren't at peace with ourselves that it don't allow you the opportunity to be at peace with not only another person, but anything. You know what I'm saying? You're always in a state of worry and a state of anxiety because now you're in that space where it goes to the second question that I read on, was now you're constantly finding fault with or attributing negative intentions to yourself. And so validating validating the notion that you're a bad person. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then that's where you go into self-sabotage, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, because now with this space, like, how can you put that in a space where things in a situation like ours, right, where it can be the other place where you're like, well, I'm never gonna get this right, I don't deserve her, she's too good, or things like that. You're now putting yourself in a position where you're not even going to get any type of work done because you're stuck in that cycle of you're pretty much calling the demise over your situation. You know what I mean? Like, and when I look at things now, man, like, I heard a song. I'm gonna tell you the name of the group. I can't remember. It's a woman. We rapping to her boyfriend, and the stuff she says to him and the things that we go through, man. They were talking about it was on Carousel, one of the songs. Up and down, in the song she mentioned something like it's crazy how we break up over something that we all do sin. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's when you start to unravel things in the space of where I'm understanding, like, marriage, how I look at marriage, it's like, okay, I'm unraveling, like, I'm figuring these things out, but I don't mean I have to leave you to figure this out. Just give me the time to figure these things out. You get the time to figure your things out as well. We're bringing it back to the table when we figure out how to work through these things effectively and how to communicate differently through therapy and see where we lie then. You know what I'm saying? Like, because now you're reshifting everything you've been taught I'm shifting everything that I've been taught on how to handle relationships, period, in marriage. You know what I'm saying? So now I'm starting to understand too, like, bro, you really don't know nobody. I think Donita's grandmother told me, it's like, you live your whole life with somebody, you never really know them because you're always changing. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's in that space of I seen a video the other day where they were talking about it was everybody had what's his name, Charleston White, where he was talking about love, what love was, right? And he was like, love is what you can take nowadays. And then if you think about it on a level where you just like at the surface level, you're like, nah, what are you talking about? It ain't about what you give too. But no, it's about how much you take, because now we live in a society that's so selfish that a lot of times we do have genuine reason to leave, especially in a marriage, right? In a marriage sometimes, right? But then there's also, that's the test in marriage, right? That's the test in where it's like, okay, this is the part where everybody don't survive. But then when you hear older people talking, they're not talking about the beauty of their love. They're not talking about the beauty of the aesthetics of their marriage. They're talking about the beauty and the struggle and getting to where they are now and having that same affection, the same love, going through everything they went through. And put things in my mind where maybe think about the older women that you see that be cussing their husbands out like bad, and then they go give each other a kiss right behind it. And this is a level of acceptance in life where you realize like what you can take. I can take your flaws. You know what I'm saying? I can take your attitude. I can take your moodiness, because at least I can kind of judge them now in this place. You know what I'm saying? But we're so in a society now where we're looking at, we talk about it all the time. Unconsciously, a lot of people look at it, and even I was in the space of, okay, like, what can you do? What are you going to bring to make my life easier? You know what I'm saying? Like, but relationships ain't about making life easier. If you know the first thing about relationships, that shit is hard baseline with anybody.
But you know when you stated about people that were in their relationships back in the day, you got to look at what your cheerleaders look like. And I mean your cheerleaders of life, your cheerleaders of your relationship, your cheerleaders of your accomplishments. You got to look at what your cheerleaders look like. If you have your cheerleaders for your mental health, if you have people that are so now in this day and age, as I've stated before, it's more acceptable. So your cheerleaders for this day and age, we're all dealing with our mental health now because we're allowed to. So before we weren't allowed to, during our time, we weren't allowed to. We weren't allowed to be ADHD. We weren't allowed to be neurodivergent. We weren't allowed to be autistic. We weren't allowed to be bipolar. We weren't allowed. We were definitely not allowed to be anything except we were not except exceptional. We were not allowed to be any of that. Now our cheerleaders, and that's whether it be social media, whether it be your therapist, whether it be your family members, whether it be that younger generation that's telling you it's okay, you're okay. Your flaws, your issues, your mental health does not make you a bad person. It makes you a human person. That's not the type of cheerleading that we got when we were dealing with our mental health. When we were younger, when we had to learn that it's okay to not be okay. That's when we're younger, you're a sponge. Right now, it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks. So now we're trying to accept that it's acceptable for us to not be okay. That's the same thing with relationships. It looked different. The cheerleaders look different. The movie Waiting to Exhale, Whitney was saying, like, I'm trying to lead this man, blah, blah, blah. Her mother, he wasn't shit. He was good to her, but the circumstances were morally and ethically wrong. And her mother said, what was that infamous line? He's a good man, Savannah. Yeah, but to her, because that's supposed to be, he's supposed to be doing now. But see, now that's what that looked like. That's why our grandparents stayed together, even though our grandparents were not always faithful to each other. But now, guess what do our cheerleaders tell us? Girl, you are fine by yourself. You make your own money. You same with y'all. You're a king. King, don't let her talk to you how you. The cheerleaders look different.
It look different.
You know what I'm saying? So we are not in the same space, and where we're sitting here thinking like you. I think you said it one time. Like, I was so busy trying to make my relationship work, knowing that was not the relationship with me. You want to know why? Because you still had your grandfather's mind frame. You still had what your grandfather cheerleaded for you for. Be a man, make it work, take care of your family. Today's cheerleaders don't sound like that for relationships.
No,
he needs to do this. She needs to make sure she got to protect us. It looked different. So now with us having this set of mind state and what we actually are hearing, like for us, how do we make that work for us? Where do we make that work for us?
I heard a video Yesterday, matter of fact, the guy was talking about that, and
Ahead
I
of
think he was
time.
Armenian, huh? What you say, Clyde?
I was answering Kate's question. She said, "How you make it work? How do y'all make it work for y'all?" And I said, "A day at a time."
Yeah, facts. But it's also how
But
you
that's
make
the
it work.
patience that comes with it. That's the
Yeah,
patience part. That and so, but if you having a bad day, I'm having a bad day, or your mental health is messed up, or even if I saw this thing where this guy was like, I what did he say? Well, I had told my wife, when you get mad at me, who do you go run and tell?
I was going
You
to talk
go
about
run.
that. Yeah,
You
yeah,
go
yeah,
run and
yeah,
tell your homegirls, they girl, he ain't shit. He ain't. He
yeah.
said, when I get mad at you, I go talk to people that's gonna cheer for you. Because
My
I want them
focus.
to remind me
Yeah,
to bring it back to you. See, we're not in a day and age like that.
no, no,
We're
no.
not in a day and age like that.
Yeah,
So,
you
but
it's,
that's the mind frame that makes people stay together through conflict.
but
That
you,
ain't the day and age we in though. But that's
but
the
you
part.
know what?
That's
I'm gonna
what's gonna make
argue.
us stay together in the bad
I'm
times.
gonna say
That's
this.
because
I'm gonna say,
we should have been going to each other anyway.
but so I'm gonna say that I see growth in that space, right? Because and it's not just me, like, but my particular friend, like my friend group. If I don't talk about my marriage outside of that, right? But if I am in a space of frustration and they can feel it and they can say it, or I say something out the way, immediately correcting it. You know what I'm saying? Hey, bro, like, hey, or they laughing or they're making a joke about it, or they kind of take some of the heaviness off of it and then kind of put you in a space of thinking, like, get out your feelings. You know what I mean? Like, so
or acknowledge it. Hey, you're valid there, but
what
how
you gonna
long are you
do?
gonna be here before you gonna say sorry?
Oh,
Because I seen this other one where this guy was like, his homeboy was mad at him because he watched him go holler at another chick and he went and called his peoples and he was like, you supposed to be. He said, man, I spent all that money at your wedding and watch you give
I
your
see
vows. Like,
that.
nah,
Yeah,
I was your best man. Like
yeah,
my duty is to make sure that this shit work out. All the money I spent, the time I took off for work, like that's what you could keep it a stat, but we also got to keep it in reality. Like,
keep it
bro,
reality.
you chose her. She chose you. It don't matter who you, whether it be your friends, your any relationship. It doesn't even have to be sexual, romantic.
Yeah,
Any relationship, because every two person don't think alike, don't
no,
act alike. That's called an individual. When
but
two individuals are in the same space, everything ain't gonna line up. That don't,
yeah.
like you said, that don't mean we gotta break up.
Yeah. And that's the part where that's the part where you learn, like, really, what can you take, right? And go back to like, how much can you take? Because it's, of course, there are valid reasons to leave someone, but also if you leaving that person, understand like what you're gonna like. Although we are all different, there are some core things and some core factors about men and women that you're gonna have to deal with consistently, right? And if you're dealing with those, if you haven't figured out how to handle that situation correctly in the situation that you're in, then you're going to carry that over into a new situation. And that, you know what I'm saying? Like, and now you putting yourself in a quicksand. But I'm gonna say, like, there are a lot more men doing that for each other. You know what I'm saying? Where it comes to, like, where it comes into a space where like you know what I'm saying? Like, it's times where I gotta hype some of my homeboys up. You know what I'm saying? Like, but we tell each other that, like, bro, like, I need you to do that for me when I get to the point where, you know what I'm saying? So it's kind of a pass it on. But also, like, understanding too that those same friends, they would tell you, well, hey, bro, it's too much. Like, I'm watching you go down. Like, I have everything, you know how that airplane is, save yourself first. You gotta put the mask on yourself first, save yourself. But for the majority of the time, there's a lot of male friends that I've here in a space where you're dealing with the honest dude and you know he has good intentions. We a lot of us tell him the same thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, even single dudes now, I'm like, hey, bro, it ain't nothing but what they say is piss in the dating pool right now, dog. You ain't missing nothing.
There ain't no Coke 45 and piss. Somebody just said that on the podcast I just did.
How
Literally.
that joint go to? I'm gonna ask you earlier.
That joint was love though.
Oh,
That
yeah?
joint was dope.
Good
Yeah,
stuff.
we was talking about relationships, so it's kind of like falling right into this.
But it's funny, right? How those childhood programs affect certain your ability to have relationships, right? Because now, just think about how that evolves and how that grows into your friendships, your co-workers. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're
But you
triggered
can
off of things.
change it. You can change it though. You just got to do the work though.
You gotta do the work.
People don't want to do the work. A lot of times, like we'll think like, all right, we want to do the work, but when we see how hard it really is, we like, hell no, like I ain't even going, cause we've been programmed so much to the point that we rather just stay in it versus
Instant
fighting
gratification.
So do
because
you?
it's instant
We're in a
gratification.
society of instant gratification. We
Wait,
want to
so
eat, going to the fast food. We want to,
Mhm.
you know what I'm saying, instant gratification. That's just like I was having a conversation with someone recently, and we were
Don't
discussing,
forget
and I think even we had this conversation one time about like the needs of an individual, whether it be the needs of a man or the needs of a woman, and in a relationship. And I was having this conversation with like, but like, yes, men usually say. I think I said this. I was like, all men says that their love language is physical touch. Okay, and but and some women and even some men, but like women who have had trauma regarding physical touch, whether it be domestic violence, whether it be sexual violence, things like that, and that doesn't mean that they can't be with a man, you know what I'm saying, with an
Yeah,
individual. It
yeah,
just means that they have trauma there. So you you have a man that's like, yeah, I needed XYZ amount of times. And she's like, okay, but sometimes like I can go a while without it because this is the way my body reacts to having this taking place to me, or like certain things that you like to do, like can you go easier on it, or like you want to go to Pound Town and I need to go to, what I'm saying,
slow
like,
rolling.
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
and so every, there are places that are compatible with y'all, but like that's the work you're talking about. Like, yo, can you accommodate those? Can you reconform? Do you
yeah,
love me enough that you can reconform and saying, hey, you know what I'm saying? Maybe I want it five days a week, but like I'll settle for 3. But and then I'm like, okay, I hear you, but like if this is a bad month for me, like you might not get it 3 days a week. Like what's
yeah.
that gonna look like? You know what
So,
I'm saying?
so that's the
And
part where
then you reprogramming yourself again, because someone who has real trauma, there's never just one fix.
yeah,
It could be seasonal,
That's
it
an
could
onion.
be situational,
uh-huh.
and people with trauma, they are hard.
Yeah,
They're not hard to love, they're hard to help cope with because they're coping with their own.
yeah,
And if you're their partner, I know, Deb, I know there are days that your wife is like, oh, he's in an episode today, or oh, like
nice,
you know
yeah,
what I'm
yeah,
saying? Or like I had a friend that had bipolar and he was undiagnosed, but I could absolutely tell when he was manic because he wouldn't
mhm.
cut his hair, his hygiene would drop. He didn't stink, but like his physical aesthetics, he was a good looking guy. His
He
physical
wasn't on
aesthetics
top of it. Yeah,
clearly changed, and he
yeah,
was still functioning. But I would always hit him with the, "Hey, you good?" Like,
yeah,
"Nah,
yeah,
me and my wife are tripping because da 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 da." And I'm sitting there like, "Hey," I'm hitting his wife up like, "Hey, like, I ain't in y'all business, but like, I." I know you know your husband, but this is the point where, like, I'm saying, as your friend, like, I need you to be a little more graceful right here,
yeah.
because it's clear, like, just because you want him to be good, it's clear he's not good.
He's not
He's
good.
functioning.
He gotta
Like,
go
be
through his
appreciative
process.
to that. Yes. I
Yeah,
know
That
you want him to be.
I think I don't know, man. Y'all know I always be like I'm just different for real. I just feel like certain stuff should just be non-negotiable, like with people. Like if this person is not meeting us, I ain't talking about the little needs. Like I'm talking about like stuff like that. Like if you see I'm upset and you just stuck and focused on you, and you can't even empathize enough to be there, like I need, then why are we together? That's just like stuff like that could just be nipped in the bud. If you just go ahead and call it quits, end it, and move forward for real, for real. I don't know. I feel like a lot of times we put ourselves through stuff we don't even really got to deal with because we got this expectation, or we got this vision of such a perfect relationship, or we might just even be scared to move on for real. Like I don't know. Like it's a lot of things that probably keep people stuck in relationships and situations that they know is not no good for them. But I feel like it can be fixed if people just like, you know what, this is not making me grow. I'm gonna let it go, move on. Like I
but
feel like
see,
it'd be simple.
I agree. I see where you're coming from right now. I always say that, bro, because we always had similar like thought patterns around the same age, right? And that's like where you are. You're supposed to feel like that, right? But then as you start kicking over, you start getting deep into your 30s, then you gonna start seeing like, bro, like, oh, like everything you said, bro, is you're going to have to deal with somebody else. So that's where part where I say go back to love now is love. I'm gonna tell you, love now is how much you can take, how much you're willing to put up with, right? In a space, because that's those issues that you have when you're dealing with another person, you at the end of the day, those are your wants for that person. You know what I'm saying? Like that's an individual that had their own life, that had their own upbringing, had their own traumatic experience, had their whole hopes and dreams. So when you get into that space, when you know you found that person, you found that one, that's when you realize, like, bro, I don't care about none of that shit. Like, you can be mad, you can cuss me out, I'm gonna cuss you out. I can hate you for a couple of days or even a couple months. But at the end of the day, I know why I love you and what
I'm not going through that, bro. I ain't even gonna lie to you.
Never, bro.
One day he'll find someone imperfect that's perfect for him. One day he will. And that's like, what it is. You know, there's a saying that
my girlfriend right now,
you're not perfect, but you're perfect for me. You know what I'm saying? Because no
I understand that.
No human
is perfect.
But in your search for perfection, what you're gonna do is find out, I love this girl for all these reasons right here, but this little non-negotiable ain't it. So then you go find somebody that is excellent with that non-negotiable, but all these reasons, they ain't there. And so now you gotta be like, yo, was it worth me leaving that person who, like you said, gave me grace in my time of need, gave me support in my time of, you know what I'm saying, of dread, like they'll fuck me whenever, they'll have sex with me whenever I want to have sex, like whatever your non-negotiable is, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, can you readjust? Can you accommodate? Can you give grace in that space of someone saying, I can't meet you there 100%, but I promise you, I promise you that I can give you what I got every single time I got it.
And it may not look like how you wanted to look,
but be high. But I promise you that whenever I got it, it's yours.
Yeah.
So I understand that what you saying, Kate. I'm talking about Dev said that, like, being mad like a month or two. I'm not doing that
because you will, right?
Tom ain't waiting 10 years.
I'm not going to bed. If you can go to bed angry at me,
I think that's
we ain't meant for each other.
That's the part, man. Like, honestly, bro, like in marriage, if I can go back and like if I could teach a marriage course, bro, that's the part where I say is the biggest fallacy in like teaching married couples to make it. The one thing if you get into a space, man, if you want to get to a space of getting engaged and then hopefully marrying someone or a long-term relationship, if you want a long-term relationship to grow into a marriage, bro, you have to. There's no way you're gonna make it work with your ideas. I'm gonna tell you, like, you can't, bro.
If we're not so open with each other, if we're not so open with each other to the point where we can talk about anything,
but human nature
do not need to be together.
So human nature says human nature is that the reality of your life is, bro, is going to be some things you're not going to connect on. There's going to be a lot of things you're not going to connect on, right?
I ain't talking about connecting, agreeing. We don't got to agree, but we can talk about them, though. You should be able to talk to me about anything, even if I disagree with you 1,000%.
But there are going to be times
come to me.
But there are going to be times when you're not going to want to talk about some things that you may experience in your future. There are going to be some things that they're going to be, but it's not always in the space.
I'll communicate that. I'll say it's. But this situation right here is a little heavy on
the right. You're saying that in the sense of you and how you're taking it, but you have no control over how the person you're with or who you're dealing with. You're saying how you feel now, and like I say, it's in the space of a reality check, right? For me, so I was in the space that you were in, right? Until I got into a space where now the pressure that I put on somebody else was now put on me. You know what I'm saying? And then you get into a space where you realize, like, are you asking this person to do something they can't do? Are you asking to do something that this person don't want to do, right? And then in that space where before it gets to a point of engagement, before it gets to a place of marriage, you should already know that. But you have to understand too in that process, bro, of dating, it's not, we're big conditioned in this generation to date. Oh, I don't like it, throw it away. It's done. Or stink. Or I don't like this. I don't like how she smile. I don't like how he smile. I don't like his teeth. Hold on.
I ain't conditioned to date like that.
I ain't like his shoes.
I don't like the shoes. You know what I'm saying? But in the space, man, when you realize what marriage is, when you and what the goal is to realize that you're looking to spend the rest of your life with someone, right? And this life of this person, like I said earlier, has came through a totally different path than you have, right? So it wouldn't be fair for you or me to tell somebody, like, I need you to go out here and start this business when you ain't want nothing. You wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I knew that in the beginning, hoping that I would change. No, so it's in a space where also,
if I know you want to be a stay-at-home mom, I'm not gonna tell you that I need you to go start a business because you already told me from the beginning that
it's a flexibility thing too, right? Because I'm gonna use
our
your
business
example.
already didn't line up.
You're a very energetic, hardworking, grinding young man, right?
Right.
Right. But you have, how old are you again, Clyde?
32.
32. I promise you, by the time you get to 35, you're gonna have a different way of thinking, bro.
I was gonna say, hit him with the 35 thoughts.
You know what I'm saying? Like, look,
35 look way different than 32.
35 is very different than 32.
I tell y'all this all the time because I feel like I already think like an old head.
Until you become an old head.
Until I become an old head.
You can feel like it all you want, but the actual process of actually living it and getting there is totally different than actually feeling like it. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm not saying that in the space to downplay how you plan. I understand where you're coming from. But bro, like if you want to work with anybody, that's the whole point of living with somebody. And the big part of marriage is while it's not successfully dated because nobody's willing to kill their self for their spouse or the significant other. And what I mean by that is killing yourself is all that you just said, bro. You might meet somebody that you know is the person, but everything you just listed is going to be the problem. Are you going to kill that part of you to make it work with them? Right now, no, we know the answer to that. You know what I'm saying? But
you gotta. I feel like, all right. This is what love looks like to me at my age. You feel me? Maybe this shit like. All right, so to me, love looks like we coexist, right? You focus on your happiness, I focus on my happiness. We come together and co-create together. That doesn't mean that we love all the same things. That doesn't mean that we agree all the time. It doesn't mean, because love is not perfect. Nobody should expect love to be perfect, but the problem is, with people are going relationships with expectations, or they feel like if I do this for this person should do this for me, or if I do this for this person, then I already know da 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 da. That's an expectation. You should know from the beginning, like when you date in the dating process, these are the questions that you're supposed to be asking. You're supposed to be figuring out what this person's vision is. What are their long-term goals? Like, what is it that they want to accomplish? What do they see in you that makes them want to be with you? Like, all of these questions should be answered. So it's not going to be a thing where it's like you just, one day, you won't do this, so I'm out of here. You done already told me everything I needed to know in the dating process. If I'm asking the right questions, we having these conversations, we having the uncomfortable conversations. You got to be able to have the uncomfortable conversations. Period. That's just a non-negotiable for me. I have a couple of non-negotiables that I can think of right now. Being able to communicate and somebody that's ambitious. It's a non-negotiable for me because I don't want nobody living off me. So that's a non-negotiable for me. They the only two that I can think of right now, only because
you just said something. Go back to what
right
you just
now.
said.
The key word he said was right now.
No, they don't, because I don't want to hold the video up. So,
but no, it was nothing I want to point to where it was another point I point to that you don't want nobody living off you, right? So that's the part where that's where does that come from? Where does that stem from? Where does that feeling that you have to respond in that way come from? Where that you would feel like the woman is living off of you and not contributing because she's not contributing how you want.
Because that comes from this generation of women who think that the man's supposed to just take care of everything. Oh, I gotta find a man to do this. He gotta have plenty of money. He gotta do this, but they want to stay home all day. Like, that's not where I'm at with it. I'm not looking for that kind of person. I'm looking for a partner. I'm looking for somebody who's building just like I'm building. And maybe one day, not because my goal one day with my wife is, okay, like I said, I want an ambitious woman, right? So you showing me something in you that makes me love you, but you are meeting me in other areas that I'm lacking. It doesn't mean that you out here making more money than me. I'm not saying it like that, because my goal one day is to be so financially stable that I say, all right, you don't got to work no more. But if we trying to build something, I need to see something. I need to be able to see that. I need to be able to rely on you and count on you in that aspect. Before I even completely like throw myself at you. Like, but the dating pool, like you said, Coke 45 and piss. They come to the first date with the suitcase, ready to move in. Like they.
So I want you to come to Maryland or DC real quick, and because I get it in Virginia. No disrespect, but I get it in Virginia. So here's the thing. That's your rhetoric. And here, all these men say, like, if that's what they doing in Virginia, send me to Virginia. Because here...
Oh, no, it's worse. It's worse.
Listen, here in Maryland and in DC and in, in these areas, all we ever hear, and this is a female perspective, all we ever hear is you're too independent. Yeah. You don't need a man. You're too masculine. How am I going to be with a woman that's not in her soft girl era? You know what part of the soft girl era means? That you're supposed, because if you're supposed
to make her comfortable enough to be in her soft girl era.
If you go back to it, again, like Dad said, if we go back to our childhood, we go back to our grandparents, our grandfathers took care of our grandmothers, right?
Yeah, facts.
So that's what we're trying to fall into. Now you're telling us, you're saying, no, that's unacceptable. Okay, so let me go into my hyper independence. Let me go into my boss bitch mode. And then at 32, that's what you're saying, right? But when you hit 35 and you want your wife to make you feel like a man, meaning that because if I'm bossing up and you bossing up, then I need you bossed up all the time. Because the moment you start and that's where men start to lose their part as far as being able to be human. They start to feeling like she already bossed up, I'm bossed. She won't need me if I show weakness. And so now they got to always stay bossed up. That means that when they not having a good day that's why men like that, people in relationships like that, the part where they imbalance each other is because now they don't know whether it be one or the other or both of them. They don't know where now to come and be humble, to come and be human, to come and be emotional,
where the value really honest. Is. Where the value really is, okay? You know what I'm saying?
Because the value of because all that ambitious stuff that you said, that's fine. But when I get in bed with you, I don't want you ambitious. I want you affectionate. I want you romantic. I want you humble. I want you appeasing. I want you accommodating. I want you loving. I don't want you all of that. That shit's for the streets. Be all that out there within. When you come home, I want you to be a father. Nice. I want you to be a man. I want you to be a provider, a protector. You know what I'm saying? I want you to king shit look different outside the house than inside
I think
the house.
I can't say that that's automatic, but that's how I think though. That's exactly how I think. But I feel like it got to be that balance where the same way I feel like the man got to make the woman comfortable enough to be in like her soft girl era. Then got to be vice versa as well. Like that woman got to show the man that, okay, you can lead. I can let you lead, even though I know you're capable.
Like this. That's what
even though you're capable of doing it on your own.
So that's what we complicate relationships at, right? Because that's what we make it too technical, right? Because if you get down to it, you strip it all down, right? And you stand out all they ask you a particular amount of particular questions that sums up marriage, right? For better or for worse, through sickness and health, through richer and poor, right? Right. So in that space where when you looking at marriage, man, like that, like when you go into a relationship, we mess it up by looking at a perspective like we've been raised in, right? If you take it down to a space where I'm here to serve you and you're here to serve me, that automatically wipes off anything as far as imbalance. Because now
I don't think like that. That's like
because you're 32, my love.
You're 32, bro. You're supposed to. But you're still in that phase of life, bro, where you understand. And I tell you, I understand where you are. But
I don't. But why would I think in a way that my girlfriend got to serve me and I got to serve her?
Because it's not serving. It's not serving in the way.
Because that's what companionship looks like. So this is what we do. We get caught in the word serve. And you know what we think of? Slavery. Right. We think of indentured serve. We think of servitude as meaning there's someone above the person that's serving.
Because y'all always hear me say that I don't want a wife, I want a partner. So that's what
you already taking yourself out.
You do the word serving, it kind of messed me up. Like
partners serve each other. So listen, partners serve each other. When you play let's play
I
volleyball.
understand it that way and
Think
that
about
concept, but
volleyball.
I
Think
thought y'all
about
was meant
volleyball.
like
No.
Think about volleyball. You got a server and then you got players. We on the
Yeah.
same team.
Yeah.
I'm serving it to him, you keeping it over there. But then guess what? After I serve it, I'm
Rotate.
jumping right in and I'm helping
Yep.
you keep it over there too.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? The same person don't, and in volleyball, the same person is not allowed to serve every serve.
Yeah.
So it's the
Right.
same thing. It's not about
It's not
serving.
it's not bringing you your
it's
food.
not
and
it's not
service.
slavery serving.
Right.
It's meaning
Serve
we
this
serving
and
each.
And humility. It's serving and humility.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
You know what I'm saying?
Because serving and service are two different things.
I
Providing
think
a service is something different than serving your partner or
But you know what? I
serving
learned
your
that from the
household.
Cosby
feel
Show,
like-
right? I learned that
you
from the
know,
Cosby Show and my grandparents, right? Real quick, like. So if y'all remember the episode where Claire went in to go get the coffee for Cliff, and one of the daughter's boyfriend was acting like, "You going?" And she was like, "You going to serve something serving above?" And she was like, she called him, put him up, like, "Listen, I'm serving him because he served me. So I'm not. I don't just do this for him. He also does it for me when he acts. So it's an exchange in that space. And I believe now, like where I am now at 41, bro, I ain't nowhere, right? Look at that relationship, bro. Like when my homeboy was the same age. He was my pastor. I was having the roughest time in the beginning, early stages, because I'm like, she keep doing this, and she not getting it. I done it. I said it 1,000 times. She ignored me. And he was like, "So why don't you do it?" I'm like, "For what? She did it." You know what I'm saying? Like in that space. And he was like, "But bro, like you gonna keep getting frustrated about something you want done, other than just going ahead and doing it yourself." And then when it happens in that space where you see how servitude works, then you start to see like, "Oh, wait a minute. He done picked this thing up 10 times. I know it's been bothering him because he always talking about it, but he picked it up here and ain't say nothing. Let me go ahead and put a little effort in here just to see." You know what I'm saying? And then you start saying like, it was something that's working out and leading that I've learned recently.
That come with learning how to lead. Like
no, it don't, because you're always learning how to lead. You're always learning how to be a leader. You're gonna be learning how to lead until you in your grave.
That comes with learning how to serve.
How to serve.
See, and that's what I'm saying. You're getting wrapped up in the word serve, and you're valid in that space because, again, from childhood, we were taught that was negative. We were taught that slavery was indentured servitude. Slavery was because they were servants. You're thinking of the word servant. And when you think servant, you think of the butler, you think of the help, you think of the peasants. We're not speaking in the same terms. We're using the word, you serve the Lord. Do you feel like you're a peasant for serving God?
Mm-hmm.
That you know what I'm saying? And that because that's the same word they use. You serve the church. I serve my ministry. You know,
serve your neighbor. Like
that just means, and what they mean in that is I'm partaking, or I'm and it could be I'm conforming, or I am falling in line, or I'm leading. It just means that I'm participating.
Mm-hmm.
As opposed to meaning I am doing all the work and they're benefited. They're benefiting off of me where you know what I'm saying? Like it's not saying serve. That's why I said don't take serve for service.
Mm-hmm. No, that's facts.
We may just be thinking it's because when y'all explain it, it sounds like what I'm trying to say. I think I just have a different way of saying it or like looking at it, or because
you just
I
don't
agree.
use the word serve.
You don't use the word serve.
I don't use the word serve, but like everything you said, like as far as how it should be and the service, like the serving, I understand that. It's the word.
Yeah, but also I think it's too like what I was speaking on too, Clyde, was it's the service, right? But sometimes the value is in the service that we miss sometimes because we want value in a particular place, right? And what we want, but that person brings value in this place. And
that's what I'm saying. Like, because where I support, that's why I said, like, where I'm strong at, that person should be, you know what I'm saying? That not should be, but that could be their way of balancing everything out. Because just because I'm ambitious and she's ambitious and I make the most money, don't mean she got to make the same amount of money for me to love her. Maybe she's just ambitious, but she serves me with her caring spirit. Like, she helps me when I have a long day at work, and she relaxes me when I come home. So that's her way of balancing out That's what I understand. That's why I say I feel like we probably saying the same thing. I just got a different way of thinking.
I just don't. I just like because I think we are right, but I think a lot of part where the disconnect is coming in is the natural process of going through stages of life. Like Kay said earlier, like bro, you when you get to 35, then everything you feel will make sense right now in that space as far as like what you're looking for and being able to express it, right? But I feel like you're in that space where you're trying to figure out exactly what that is too. You know what I'm saying? Like in a space of, all right, I do want a woman that's ambitious. But what type of ambition? Do I want her to be ambitious about her business, or do I want her to be ambitious about something else?
Our home.
I want her to be.
You're still in a space where I don't want to use the word energy, but I'm gonna use the word energy in the sense of like your ability to get up and move. You know what I'm saying? Your ability to get up and move is different from mine and Dev's because I got people that depend on the way that I move. They've got people that depend on the way that he moves. You don't got people that depend on the way that you move. So you can move how you want to move with who you want to move with and have those expectations of them. When you get to a space where now
I do. It just ain't got kids. That's all.
So here's this is what I'm saying. When you get to a space, and that usually comes later in age, when you're like, all right, well, I done blew the club scene up. I'm tired of that. And you know what I'm saying? This is my example. This is my example in when I mean like energy wise. Like you're like, okay, well, I done blew the club scene up. I'm tired of that. I didn't traveled enough. I'm tired of that. I done made this home, and all I want to do is sit here and enjoy it with my person. You not gonna want a girl that's up ambitious. Always moving around. You gonna want your baby home with you, enjoying the fruits of y'all labor. If you want her to be ambitious, and guess what's gonna happen? Because we all in or we're not. That's how women are wired. We're gonna go full throttle or we're gonna go empty tank. We're either not doing shit or we're doing everything. We are just wired in nature like that. So when you say you want an ambitious woman, you gotta be mindful of how you saying that. Now, fine, yes, right now,
listen to me. That's
exactly what you should want. She should be educated. She should be mindful. She should have a good head on her shoulders.
Let me explain that.
She should have the ability to care for herself if she needed to. All of those things, I'm in agreement with you. But remember that if you're saying that's what you want right now, 30, remember once y'all hit 35, 40, and it's time to chill out, is your expectations going to change, right?
Yeah.
No,
your expectations going to change. So that's what
we're saying. Change. They should.
But be mindful now what your expectations are.
But I know what I want.
In foresight of knowing that later on it's going to change. So if you can handle a woman that she may not got everything you want right now, but you know your expectations going to change as you get older, as you solidify what your life's going to start slowing down to look like. Be mindful of what you got in front of you. Not if
y'all think really think I don't get it. Like
I know you get it.
No, you get it.
Like, be mindful. Like, is she good for me now, or is she gonna be someone I can grow into? We can grow into each other together.
When I say ambitious, I'm saying. This is why it says important in the dating phase to figure out what the person that you're dealing with, what their vision is. So when I say ambitious, I mean I want somebody who want to build this empire with me so we can retire together. This is not gonna be I want you to be ambitious. Now you in corporate America and I'm over here running this. Nah, we have a plan in place that when we get where we say we want to be, when we get to this goal, we're going to pass the business on to somebody else and let them run it, and we're going to retire together. That's when I say ambitious, that's what I'm talking about. Somebody who want to build this empire with me. I already know when it comes to a time, I want my wife beside me. I want to rub on her booty while we on the island somewhere on the beach on the vacation. Like, that's what I'm trying to do. So that's where my mind is at, but it's not like, I want you to be over here working and I'm at home, or I'm at work and you at home with the kids. Nah, like I ain't talking about that. We got a plan in place, and when we reach this goal that we set, which we talk about in the beginning in the dating phase, when we reach this goal that we set, we both gonna retire. That's what I'm talking about. So when I say ambitious, I want somebody. I want somebody. I want somebody on
the
go.
Person and it works out. I genuinely hope that that's what you find and it works out for you like that. I hope that I hope no detours come in between that.
I'm expecting detours because that's what life is about. Life is gonna throw curves at you every single time.
You should expect to reroute that goal.
I ain't gonna reroute it because I know what I'm capable of.
The detour might not be yours. You might find the person that's giving you all of that, and then they have a detour. Mm-hmm. She's walking down the street one day and she gets mugged. She's walking down the street one day and something happens to her that triggers whatever her trauma becomes. Mm-hmm. Something happens to her and she loses her parent. And now she's like anything at this day. We are so overstimulated with what we have going on. Like, that's what I'm saying. We're so busy trying to maintain being alive that we're not living. So anything can
but we living in our purpose,
anything, right? Anything could get in the way of us living. And now that goal that y'all had together, there's a detour and she's no longer in that space. You're gonna be like, well, fuck you. I'm out.
This is my personal experience. I feel like when you come into a situation like that, you put a lot of pressure on you and you put a lot of pressure on the person. I respect everything you're asking for. I do. And I, like Clyde said, I hope you get it. But also I feel like when we do that, we cheat ourselves, right? Because you actually claiming your worth, like what you want, like you saying what you want. If you living in your purpose, I'm talking about really living in your purpose. My mind is way different, bro. Like if you living in your purpose, you're gonna come across the person that's meant for you. Like it's no way around it because that's how life works. That's how the universe is made. If I'm on my path and she's on her path, we're gonna cross paths. I see what you're saying. I'm not negating now. I see what you're saying, but I'm also saying it from a space of from wisdom, right? In a space of understanding, like coming from a similar place that you were in, and saying and having those same goals, right? And I think, you have to tell me if I'm wrong. If you're in a space where you're this ambitious guy, right? You were super ambitious, and life happens, right? And now you got your legs cut off. And now you're not moving as fast as your wife wants you to move or what you thought you move. And then she leaves because now you're not the ambitious person that you can't do.
Oh, you're incapable. That detour has made you incapable.
That's a woulda, coulda, shoulda though.
No, it's not. It's not a woulda, coulda, shoulda. It's not. Because I'm gonna say,
because it doesn't have to. There's going to be something in your life that,
and I expect it, but I don't know what it is. But I can't sit and think.
But what I'm saying is, there's going to. It is not might, maybe. It's a fact.
I know it's going to.
Something's going to take you off course, and whatever partner you're with something's going to take them off course. Now the issue is, can I get back on course and still maintain this? Can he get back on course and still maintain me? Because whatever that detour is,
we can't stay on this course.
You have to be willing to still be that partner that's going to support that this detour took us off course, and maybe off course has changed our course. Mm-hmm. Maybe we can't retire when we said we was going to retire because this detour got in the way. Am I okay with instead of retiring at 50, we can't retire till 70?
Yeah.
Are you gonna leave her because y'all had a detour?
Hold on, okay. Oh, we retired at 40, and now we have to go back to work at 45.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? But when we talked about earlier, one of the biggest things, right? We were talking about earlier as far as like generation and preparing generations for the things that haven't been seen yet. Our generation has been taught what normal is, right? From up until this point now, right? But now we're in a phase where there's nothing is normal. Nothing is normal that we're used to. So you kind of got to put yourself in a space to expect everything, right? And for whatever reason, our experience, God allowed me to see that the way that I was moving in that particular space. And I'm not saying that's not for you, but when I was coming in with those, they were my expectations for someone. Like no matter how you word it, no matter how you put it up there, you are expecting someone to come in and perform something in a way, whether I'm checking out the labels of what it is. So I heard Lauren London say something about Nipsey Hussle when he passed about some of the things that they were learning in a relationship, and she learned that, like, she said something to mention that she learned to experience the person, right? And when you experience the person, then you already know if you're genuinely experiencing somebody from the time you're dating to the time you're in the space, you will know if this person is right for you. You will know if this person is wrong for you. We all know we choose to ignore it and make it work for ourselves. But if we truly were in a space where we know when we were all couple 100 with ourselves, and we got to a space where nah, bro, like it's gonna be a disappointment. Your wife is going to disappoint you more than you can realize, and be a person that you didn't expect she was more than you, and you're going to be that same person too. You're going to be that same husband, that same person in the eyes of your wife, right? So it's in realizing where I understand what you were saying,
but that's where all those intangibles come in. Where do you love this person enough to deal with what they come with? Do you love this person enough to cross any obstacle with them? Like the Monica song, I will cross the ocean for you, I will go and bring. Is this person that you with, do they make you feel that way? Like if that person that you're with makes you feel that way, then it's nothing that can stop you.
Because that person that you're probably going to marry has the ability and will do that both sides of you. They will make you feel like you're across the ocean from you, but they go like, man,
and then they will make you feel like you want to kick them to the other side.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so how do you move?
But I feel like that's just you just
what I'm saying in that space where
if
we want any relationship to work, we have to figure out how to walk that line together. And when we come in there, take a trip beam scale. If I'm already loading the scale up with my expectations from you, right? That's say what you bring in looks lighter at this point. And my mind's not going to allow it to move in a way where it's going to balance itself. But when you're experiencing somebody and you're understanding somebody, you're automatically putting yourself, that scale is going to be able to go like this, right? Realizing that it's never going to be like this. It's always going to be going back and forth. Always, right?
Because it's going to be what you said, Clyde. It's going to be what you say, one day at a time.
One day at a time.
It's going to be one day at a time. And that's the only way that you can truly love someone, experience someone, give grace to someone, forgive someone, be kind to someone, be mindful. So it's literally one day at a time. And then let's keep it a stack. Like I heard you say, the asking of questions. I respect that wholeheartedly. But we're sitting here talking about traumas. Name one female that when they say, this your first date, y'all first week, y'all dating, early on, first thing they start talking, y'all having the good conversations. Then you start saying, okay, well, let's talk about the hard stuff. And they start saying, well, I was raped when I was such and such. I had such and such happen to me. I'm afraid of the dark. I don't trust women. I don't have such and such. My daddy was such and such. My cousin was. Are you going to stay there? Or is that going to be like, she got all this shit going on with her and I'm gone? Then you go find the next chick and she's like, okay.
I'm not going though. I'm really not. I work in mental health.
So you hear that, right? You hear that. And when you're a person with trauma, you never know how you're going to respond to the situation until the situation happens. Because you may respond to one person that's in the situation with you differently than another person that's in the situation with you. If you trust a person and they're in the situation with you, you're gonna respond differently to them than a person you don't trust and they're in the situation with you. So what I'm saying is when those things happen and you're dealing with someone with trauma, this is where I be talking about the detours. Anything could trigger that because we're individuals. And what triggered me yesterday probably won't trigger me tomorrow because I already dealt with the trigger today. You know what? Yesterday.
But you can only know if you experience the person.
But that doesn't But that does not mean that tomorrow I might not be triggered with the same thing, but in a different way. I'm triggered. This trauma, I'm triggered, and this is making me feel in this trauma. But today it might have been because somebody clapped their hands too loud. You know what I'm saying? And now I'm triggered by my trauma. Tomorrow somebody could clap their hands and I'm not triggered. Well, know why? Because I've built up immunity to. I'm accustomed to that. But tomorrow it might be that somebody banged against the wall. You know what I'm saying? But I'm triggered. I'm triggered. It's based off the same trauma. I'm just triggered in a different way. So that's what we're saying. The detours are just because they say, and rhetoric is easy. It's easy for me to tell you what you want to hear. That's called the gift of gab. And that might be someone being honest. But again, circumstances really prove to you if this is the person for you, or am I the person for them? Can I be the man for them? You want someone to live in their soft girl era. And I believe you understand what that means because you said it. Do I make her comfortable enough? And him, do I make him comfortable enough to be human in front of me? Do I make him comfortable enough to say, hey, my guards is down. I'm vulnerable right now? Because vulnerability is scary.
Yeah.
That's a trauma in itself, especially for males.
Yeah.
That's a trauma in itself. Vulnerability is a trauma in itself for males. For females, we're expected to be weak and want to be protected. So vulnerability for us, we're expected. It's accepted. For males, it's different for y'all. So you got to remember, anything could put you in a space of vulnerability, could put your partner in a space of vulnerability. All those things that you had lined up as the expectation that you were going to go with, she may still have all those, but now it's like, oh shoot, now we got to, like Dev said, we got to factor in. We was here today. I'm trying to get it. We was here today. Oh shit, she having a bad day. Oh, it's turned into a bad week. What do I do with this? Where do I go with this?
I hold her up. I hold her
But
up.
how?
But how? How if
you experiencing the person, then you know.
But no, it's not true because
what I'm saying is the vulnerability of a person may not be that you know how to help them, hold them up. You may think you're doing. So this is the thing. Communication is only as good as it's received. So if if she says, I'm afraid of the dark, and you're looking at it like, all right, well, fuck it, I'll leave the lights on. She's like, well, I can't sleep with all the lights on. What do you do?
Right, exactly. And
how do you accommodate something that doesn't have a solution?
How do you hold on? It gets deeper, okay?
When I say a solution, I mean one solution. I mean that has endless solutions. Are you gonna burn yourself out and be okay with burning yourself out? Because that's what marriage is like.
But you're right.
Yeah, so what I'm gonna do is
for his wife, she burns herself up for him, and they go to bed and they fucking charge for the next day to be burnt out by each other. And that's what it looks like. That's what being experienced somebody really looks like. You burn me out with this, but you also recharge me here.
Yeah. And so
I feel like I would personally I don't want you to get too far away from what she said though. Like as far as with the dark thing, personally, the kind of person I am, I might be wrong. Y'all tell me if y'all think I'm wrong. But if that's my partner and she tell me that she's scared of the dark, I'm trying to help her overcome that fear, no matter how long it takes.
That's what we mess up as men.
But how do you mess up
though, right? Because like Kay just said,
you gonna erase to her in the dark?
No. But sometimes
you gonna erase because sometimes being afraid of the dark means I'm afraid to go to sleep because I'm afraid I'm gonna have a nightmare. You can't take my nightmares from me.
Or maybe something happened to her in the dark. So
but that's what I'm saying. But you can't remove that. All you can do is support that every single time she wakes up. Every single time
you can do more than support that.
No, you can't.
You got to listen. But what if today supporting that means that don't hug me, don't touch me? Means don't. You're like, damn, I can hug you before.
Want a solution. I don't want a solution. What's the solution then? You know what I'm saying? Like,
if I don't want a solution, then ain't nothing I can do about it. Honestly,
no, right?
But the problem's still there. So look, and let me tell you what the next problem's going to be.
Because you can't help who don't want to be helped.
It ain't nothing you can do. You don't care. But that's what trauma looks like.
Yeah.
When you can help them, but you can't help them. When you can't help them, but you can help them. I remember I called Dev a couple weeks ago when I was going through it, and I was like, and he heard me rambling. I don't know, like I know what I was talking about. I just could not get to it. Yeah. And he was like, "Stop, Kay. Do you want me to just listen, or are you looking for support?" Like that changed everything because I didn't know what I wanted. And at the end of the conversation, I still didn't know what I wanted. Yeah. Was I resolved? No. But was I settled? Yes. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes
you just need to listen.
The solution is just being settled. It doesn't mean solving.
Because everything is not meant to just jump in and save. Sometimes people just need to get it the fuck out of
their head. As men, we're conditioned to save.
That's what y'all think protection is.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, so I'm learning that now in this space.
That's logical. Men think logically, supposedly women think emotionally. And logically means solve for y'all. It means that this ain't a problem no more because I don't feel like dealing with it no more. So you got to pay your rent. Here, take this shit and shut up. You know what I'm saying? Like, now that's over. Like, let's move on to the next thing.
Right
Because
now,
y'all are fixers. Y'all are naturally that, because that's what protection and provision looks like for
yeah,
y'all.
I think
yeah,
you got a point there. Like I
It
definitely
means the
am like
problem
a
is gone.
yeah.
I'm a natural fixer, but
This why men can be mad at a dude. Y'all fight. You won the
Yeah.
fight. Now everything's over.
It's
Women,
over.
I'm gonna beat your ass today.
Every time you
Next
see
week,
it's on site.
tomorrow, it ain't no. but that's what it looks like for men. Like, solving and solutions mean that the problem is no longer existent. But for women and for partners, sometimes solution means just it could be submission, it could be accommodating, it could be serving. That's what serving looks like.
It
Like,
can
okay,
also be what I'm learning now, acknowledging.
yes,
You're doing nothing about it. You know what I'm saying?
support or
Like,
solution.
and I feel like I understand that because I can do that. I do it now. Like sometimes, like my girlfriend, she might got a little attitude, but she might not open up immediately. So for me, I know that sometimes that might just mean she needs space. So I'll be like, "Would you like some space right now?" And she'll say yes or no, or she say no. Then I know to sit there with her, and we ain't gotta talk. I could
yeah,
just rub her arm, rub her
yeah,
hand, hold her hand on what like, and next thing I know, I look, she got tears coming on her face. Like
yeah.
she just wanted me to be there. So like I learned to, I don't know. I just learned. I
Not take it
learned my
personally.
person. I
Not
learned
take
my
it
Yes.
person,
personally.
Yeah, don't take it personal. And you have to learn. And I used
and
to
I
tell
don't take
my
it
fiance,
personal either
I
because
used to tell my
yeah.
fiance all the time when we first met. Like, I think I told you, I was grieving my kid's dad because that was my best friend. Like, I was grieving hard, but I was grieving late because he had passed. It had already been a year, and so while everybody was looking at me like, "Damn, you ain't done grieving," and I was still mourning. Grieving and mourning different. So I was still
Mhm.
mourning him because I had to let my kids. I had to be strong for my kids and let my kids mourn. And you know what I'm saying. I had to hold myself up for them. So then when it was my turn to mourn, I had met someone. And I told him, like, listen, I'm mourning and I'm grieving. Please don't abandon me, but I also don't want you to grieve with me. But that don't mean when you see me grieving, you leave. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Yeah, but you know,
That means I don't want you to emotionally absorb my grief with me. But I still want you to be present here with me. Even if I don't talk about it, if you see me crying and I don't talk about it, somewhere realize, like, oh, that's right, she said she was mourning. Like, just take me one of those moments. I don't even need you to hug me up, but just be mindful, be graceful. Like, okay, this is a time where, like you said, Clyde, this is a time where, like, all right, listen, my presence is what's needed here. She don't need me to solve nothing because I can't fix this problem.
But what you're saying, right? I seen there's a couple on Instagram, right? I can't. The guy was on. He was singing. He was a singer. He was singing somewhere. I think he was on American or something. But his wife had passed away of a from brain cancer. But watching him how he handled his wife, it showed me so much, right? Because when he realized that, when he found out that the cancer was terminal, he never told his wife at the time what the doctor told him as far as she only had 15 months to live, right? So what he ended up doing was, like, at the end of the video that he put up last week, Roz was saying that she was recording him while she was sleeping in the hospital, while he was sleeping in the hospital chair, and he was like, "This man has really, like, did everything he could to make me happy. He really did give me the best husband that I could ask for ever," right? But realizing that this man now, everybody was up in arms because Roz passed away last year, right? And now he's dating someone this year, right? But he still mourns. He still puts up posts. He still shows flowers. He still talk about how much he misses her. He still acknowledges the love he has for her. And to watch how he still pours into the woman that he's dating and how she pours into him through the space of it, and you can see how it works. You need that flexibility, right? In a relationship. And I think that if you look at things now, a lot of people have a problem with that. Why are you still mourning over here?
My
I have
fiance
friends.
definitely did not like things like I would post you know, when his birthday came around, and their birthdays are very, very like a day apart. So didn't like that I would post the birthday, did not like that I would post the anniversary, did not like, you know, we had a child that was about to graduate, and I would always mention, because regardless, like death does not remove a person. Death just takes away their physical presence.
Yeah.
But that's still his dad. That's still the person that for all of his life, until that he was there more of his life than he wasn't. You know, that was still my co-parent for more of his life than he wasn't. And I still owe him so much. And that takes, but that takes away nothing from what you got going on with him, with me. And so that's the space that I'm talking about. Can you still be there for your partner? What you got, that's the part where you got to remove yourself. You got to remove your jealousy. You got to remove your bitterness. Like, that nigga gone, why you still
fighting? You gotta ask yourself,
that's not support when you get like. And so I had told him, like, this year, I told him, I was like, I really felt like the reason I wasn't doing well last year was because I felt like you were trying to rush me for your own benefit. You were trying to rush me through something that I should have been taking my time on.
Yeah.
You know, and it was for your benefit. Like, you were getting in your feelings about someone you had never met. You never knew what type of relationship we had. And your only issue, because this person's not a threat to you, your only issue is that I used to have a relationship with them. This is not a man that I'm going to go back to. You know what I'm saying? Like,
that's
you
the part
can't
too, like,
be jealous of someone who is not a threat. And I'm not, that's why I used to tell him, like, I don't want you to grieve with me, mourn with, you don't have to give me cards of sympathy on his, while I'm grieving. You don't have to do
just
that.
allow me my space.
Give me my space.
And respect it.
Don't hinder my process.
Because, but that's a lot of time, not talking bad about nobody, but a lot of times that's what comes from insecurities that may have stemmed from his own trauma.
It did. He said it. He was like, I didn't have someone, because he was married before me. I didn't have someone that treated me like I was everything all the time, like you did. I didn't have.
So for him to see, the person, he saw his person
hurting over someone else.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so I had to tell him, like, listen, I'm gonna keep it a stack. This is the individual that taught me grace. This is the person that taught me forgiveness. Our relationship and our parenting situation and our family after our relationship was over taught me how to be a co-parent and not be in a relationship with that person. Because it's so, like, I learned how to have a village and blend because of this person. I learned what grace looked like. I learned what loving the person unromantically, based off of that our kids should see us being parents, just because we're not in a relationship. This is the person that taught me these. This is the person that taught me that I can talk to you without disrespecting you. You know what I'm saying? Like, all these things that you're thanking me for, all these things that you love me for, this is the man that showed me as a woman, like, this is how a man should be treated. You know what I'm saying? And it was, and all of that I learned after our relationship was over. I learned that from us being co-parents, friends, and family. So, like, I'm not grieving our romantic relationship. I'm grieving the loss of my genuine family. This is a real loss for me. He could not fathom that initially, because he was in a relationship where there was infidelity. He was in a relationship where another person took his person from him, where her mind was on somebody else and not on him. I had to tell him, like, just because my emotions are here does not mean my heart is not with you. Does not mean that my body's not with you, that my romance, my relationship is not with. Please do not take from this that you are lacking anywhere. But please allow me that today, I need 5 minutes in this day, because if I don't, that's going to build up. That 5 minutes is going to turn into 5 hours.
And then it might come back on you.
Of unresolvedness. Of unresolvedness. Absolutely.
But to be fair, that's the thing that a lot of people go through at first value, because you all want to be the person first. You know what I'm saying? Like, you should be looking like. So although I understand it, it also tells me, like, how surface level you think. Because now, if you're not willing to sit back and think about, like, bro, how the fuck I feel like, you know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that for your situation. I'm saying because I know a lot of other people that kind of went through the same thing, and I know a couple of people that lost
a lot of people won't.
A lot of people lost that. It didn't have to be. They lost their significant other. They lost their baby father and things like that. And then you will see a lot of the person that they're currently dating get jealous about that, and you will see that like Clyde said, that's a reflection of what they're dealing with internally, and that person.
So it's there, like if you recognize that, it's like, dang, you going through it too, but then you kind of got to understand what they feeling too, because like I'm going through this, but I understand why that person is acting that way because they went through a certain situation, and that's when you and your person got to have that conversation of the understanding to be able to that
Grace, absolutely. And like, you know, loss is law. Everybody deals with loss differently. And so his loss was his mother, where my loss was my father and this person. You know what I'm saying? I mourn my son's dad more than I mourn my father, because my son's dad was in my life consistently more than my father. You know what I'm saying? But that doesn't take the fact that, like, I lost a part of me. I lost my parent. You know what I'm saying? And then it hurt even more that my son lost his parents. So as his mother, like, of course, there's that part. But then on top of that, his was his mother. And he was like, you know, when I lost my mother, such and such. Okay, well, your mother and you had a different relationship than me and my father, or me and my son's father. Like, you can't compare what loss looked like to you or how I should respond to loss. So, you know, our traumas, despite we have the same traumas, they are reflected differently in us, you know, by all means. And so he recently had told me, like, you know, and even with things like, he told me, like, you know, I love the way you're a mom to your sons. Like, I didn't get that. He was raised by his father and his stepmother. So he's like, I didn't get the same thing. And I was sitting there trying to figure out, like, what does that mean?
Now, Clyde heard something again.
Something going on outside my house. Sound like people fussing.
And me as his partner, instead of me taking the route that he took and me being jealous and bitter and like, oh, so what, you got a problem with the way I raised I had to be graceful. I had to show him what grace looked like. Just because you didn't allot it to me doesn't mean that I can't still provide it to you. I served him with grace. Like, listen, I understand. So guess what I did? Little things that I knew, like, moms do. Like, you know, I know I washed my kids when they were little. Like, you know, I'd be like, hey, I'm going to take a shower. You want to take a shower with me? And I'm washing his back. He's like, no one ever did this. Any other female would be like, you soft ass, bitch ass. Me, I'm sitting there like, yo, like, that comes from your trauma. That's your childhood trauma. Like, every child should experience. That's in the Bible. That's what love looked like. You know what I'm saying? You wash your husband's feet. They bathe their child. That's what baptism is. You bathe the bad things away. You know what I'm saying? So a parent bathing their child, like, that's love. That's what, when you don't experience that and you get it later on in life. You know what I'm saying? If it does something to you differently, that's something new you got to cope with. Instead of me looking at him like, oh, you acting on like, damn, it's just you know what I'm saying? I had to be graceful and mindful that, like, that's really a trauma for him. Like, he really had a traumatic upbringing. And just because that wasn't my upbringing doesn't mean that I still don't owe him support, because things trigger him. Things are traumas, even if it's good things. Like, this was a good thing. And it triggered him. Like, he broke down, like, you know, I didn't get this and da-da-da. And instead of me being like, yeah, mother ain't it, you know what I'm saying? And making me feel worse about it, was just like, okay, but I didn't overdo it like that. I don't do it all, you know what I'm saying? But, you know, whenever we get in the shower, like, I'm mindful of being like, let me just do it. But I don't make a big deal out of it, because I don't want him to feel like I'm just doing it because that's a trauma. Like, yo, this is something that, like, clearly it resonates with you. And I want to feed
that's something
that.
That's something big too, because that's something you have to love somebody to realize that. You know what I'm saying? Like, and to serve in that way, because it's I believe that if a lot of folks, not just women, moved in that way, then that we would have a different type of success rate in relationships and marriages. Because now
you could never learn that if you don't learn to experience the person.
Get it, Clyde.
There you go, Clyde.
Get it, Clyde. That is.
You know what I mean? Like it's just, we put too much pressure on ourselves in society, man. Like, and we put a lot of expectations on people without even realizing it. And like, if you want grace on your shit, we got to give grace on the other thing. And I think that we cheat. I go back to saying, like I said earlier, we cheat ourselves when we look at it in the space of what you bring to the table that way. Not saying I disagree with you. I agree with you with a lot of things that you were saying.
Absolutely, right? Have standards.
Just that.
Absolutely.
I just solved the problem, y'all. Literally just now. The reason I think the reason I put all those stipulations on the type of relationship that I see for myself, it probably has a lot to do with me being in relationships where I always put other people first. And I always put what they needed, what they wanted first before,
so
and I always neglected myself.
Let's bring this full circle. Were you the oldest child or the youngest child?
I'm the youngest. It ain't but me and my sister. My sister is 45.
So okay, so even better.
Yeah.
So even when you were little, did you feel like you had to protect your sister? Like, y'all better not try my sister. Even though she was older than you, you was willing to stick up to the big boys for your sister. But you want to know what that was? That's service, bro. That's serving. Like, you are supposed, you felt like that was territory for you. You were territorial over your sister. You were territorial over that's you know what I'm saying? That's territory you don't play with. Like, that's where that comes from. That you and so, you know, my brother was older than me. So my mother raised me to always make your brother's plate. Make your brother's plate. I'm sitting here like, yo, that's your fucking son. You make his plate. You know what I'm saying? Like, that ain't my husband. But guess what? My brother grew up and in this relationship with his girl, like, he expects her to make his plate, to do such, you know what I'm saying? All of that comes from him and his childhood and what that looks like. So I always say, like, he would literally be infantile if it wasn't for the fact that he found somebody that was willing to make his plate. He really thinks that that's what's supposed to happen because you were in the circumstance that you were territory. To you, it's supposed to be like that. I'm supposed to protect. That's protection for you. Putting someone else's needs before yours, that's protection for you. And protection, that's what it looks like to you. So
it's probably a mix of that.
Despite your sister being older, meaning you had to protect her over boys that was older than you, do you realize the jeopardy you put yourself in? No, you probably didn't when you was younger, thinking that you was going to fight these boys you don't realize how bad you could have got hurt. But
my sister 12 years older than me, and I remember this story.
And you was ready to go to war.
The dude came to pick my sister up and take her on a date. I was 7 years old. My sister was 19. The dude came to pick my sister up. He's sitting in the living room. She getting ready. I said, so where you taking my sister? Like, where you going on this date with my sister?
Natural protector, bro.
You put yourself in the line of fire. So that's something that you've always been accustomed to. Like, this is why we're saying you got to figure out what you got going on now, where that came from.
Yeah. That's only one part of it. That's that narcissistic part. Hey,
I got it.
That played a big part in my relationships, my attachment style, everything. That figuring that out helped me so much. Like this week, I ain't even gonna lie to you. I can't wait to get off this live, so I can go back and keep doing more digging. I don't about filled the notebook.
I swear every week, Clyde has a new epiphany.
You said what?
Every week you get an epiphany. Damn, they said something there.
Because I swear, y'all, I done got to the point where I work diligently towards it every single day. Like now I got this thing on my note when I type in my notes. Like, let's say I'm driving. Like, I was driving the other day and a car cut me off. So I became aware, like, why did I get pissed off when the car cut me off?
Yeah.
Where is that coming from? Like, where is that emotion coming from? So I put it in my notes. I don't think about it right now. But when I get home, when I get somewhere situated, I'm gonna actually dig into that and see, like, why did that car cutting you off make you feel this certain type of way?
But you know what, bro? I can do that.
It be little stuff like that. I pay attention like that. Like,
I do the same thing. I can do it on site now. I used to wait till I get home and think about it, but now I immediately catch myself. If somebody cut me off. I trip.
Yeah,
Go ahead, bro.
sometimes
You
I can do that too. Like I got reckless drivers upset me. I don't like when cars get in front of me or rush me from behind.
okay.
Like it's a whole bunch of stuff. I actually had a fear trauma at work, which is why I left it on the third job.
What was
I
the
had an
fear?
awakening. It won't like a fear, but I was sitting there and I was talking to other coworkers or whatever, and the girl was like, she wanted to quit her day job because she liked the benefits of this job and she could see herself staying there till she retired. And I was just like, everybody was like, yeah, you right, dude, the job is da da da. And I'm just
No, I
like,
was like,
bro,
fuck this.
hell nah, y'all want to be stuck in it. Like, nah, I started saying, this ain't for me, man. I got to get out of here and put that focus back on what really mattered to me. And that's kind of what you were saying before I even started the job. You was like,
You
why I
did
can't
talk
put
about
the
that.
why I can't put the energy
Excuse me.
into what I want to do versus doing that. And I'm telling
That's
you that
crazy. We did talk about that last episode.
and sure enough, it came full circle. I went and started working the job. Like, why the hell am I making myself this task? Trying to work 3 jobs. Like, what? I made it
You
a
got
week
no
and a
kids.
half
I
though.
commend you for it. I do. I really do. You can get the same amount of work done not punching in for somebody for yourself. You got things going already, bro. You got some good things
Exactly.
happening already.
And Clyde, once like that's the part what I was saying when I was like, when you get older and you get settled and you start realizing like, yo, I don't got the time to be living for other people when I'm supposed to be living for me. You know what I'm saying? And
That's
that's
how I
when you
feel
start
now.
that's when you start being direct. That's when you start
Mm-hmm.
being forward. That's when you start being a little selfish. And
You
it's
got to.
okay. And
You
it's
got to be
okay.
selfish.
That's when you start being protective of yourself. Once
I
you
know.
start protecting you and you stop putting everyone else's protection in front of yours, life will look different for
Yeah,
you.
fact.
And that's
Life
how I
will
think
look
I was
different.
able. That's how I was able to have that epiphany I just had because that's literally what I've been working on this week, putting
Yeah, you
myself
did say
first.
that. Yeah.
Like literally putting myself first. Like I don't even think I would have been able to come to that conclusion had I not been working on that already. But something on Dev had just said had made it click in my head. Like, you know what? That's where that came from. Like, okay, now everything started to make sense. But I definitely learned you got to be selfish because if you're not, you will be drained. And I spent majority of my life being drained, putting other people before me, or not wanting to really hurt feelings for real, or thinking I had to be this type of person to be loved or to be accepted, or
So
like
you at that age where you creeped up on that 35 mindset. You're like, no man, fuck all that shit. Like I'm gonna live. Like,
You know what the best remedy for that? When you isolate yourself, you start realizing like, yo, I was prioritizing all these other people and I'm gone and they ain't shit changed in their day. They are still living every day the same. My absence ain't do nothing in their day.
nothing.
Why? And,
yeah.
and then you like those are things you and then meanwhile you buy yourself things when you isolate yourself. I went through a period. I think that's why I couldn't get on for a little bit because I had to isolate myself from putting my energy out. You know what I'm saying? I had to reserve some of the stuff I'll be saying. I had to reserve that for me. I had to put that back into me for a little bit.
Yeah,
I had
fact.
to focus on talking to myself instead of talking to other people.
Yeah.
So and that was just my little break. You know what I'm saying? I'm still working in that space. Because like I said, right now with my therapist, we are working on my childhood traumas. And I know that my childhood traumas trigger me so bad that like they bring forth nightmares now. And I know that if I had nightmares last night, that means I didn't get a lot of sleep. Guess what my day is looking like today? I'm tired, I'm
Rough.
exhausted, I'm grumpy, I'm frustrated, I'm irritable.
But
My
that makes you
childhood shit,
strong. That
it
makes
does
you strong enough to realize it
it
enough
makes
to
it makes me emotionally intelligent because
Yeah.
because what I don't do is take that out on other people. I'm very aware that that's how I feel.
self-aware.
But
Mm-hmm.
but do you know how hard it is? When we think we had this conversation to have self-control when you're internally out of control.
Yeah.
It is so hard to display self-control outwardly when internally you are out of control.
Control.
That is the most mature thing that you can do because my problem should not be your bad day.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You know,
And that's what a lot of people do.
Oh, I'm
That's
sorry. Your
like
problem should not be my bad day.
that,
fact.
and a lot of times that's when you come across those kind of people, you know, like the jerks, like assholes, like the people who act a certain towards people. That's all they doing. They projecting their trauma, their bad day, stuff that they refuse to go deal with onto other people.
Mm-hmm.
So
Or
just because you woke
they
up
don't know how to
grumpy
deal
or
with
you
it.
And now they triggering my trauma, and now we
Yeah.
gotta fight.
and then we gotta fight. Now we gotta fight in Starbucks, and I just wanted a mocha latte. You know what I'm saying? Light cream.
Now you done cut me off, and I gotta follow you.
But you know what, man? Like in the same space of self-reflecting and shadow work within this space of figuring out like the triggers, I figured out recently, like in marriage counseling, that my therapist told me outside of marriage counseling, she asked me directly and said, what's the deal you have with anger? And I was like, I don't have anything towards anger. And she was like, you do, you run from it. And I was like, no, I don't. She was like, you run from it. It's like, she's like, Devin, you run from anger, and because you'll be mad about something and you'll justify your way, you'll minimize it in your head. So maybe I'm tripping. Women don't let. And she's like, why do you do that? And I thought about it in a space. I was like, I didn't know, but when I thought about it, man, why I run from anger now is in a space where I've learned it's something that happened when I was a kid. I've never seen anger expressed in a way of
healthy,
constructively or in a healthy way, right? And when I've seen like the worst case scenarios of anger. So even if I was mad, I'll try to quickly calm myself down, right? And I've always considered myself a happy person, always considered myself silly, goofy, but then when things piss me off, I let it slide. But then I didn't think about it when my therapist told me, she was like, I was having a conversation. She said, you're not as empathetic as you usually are around this type of situation. Why aren't you? And I was like, I am. I understand it. She was like, no, you understand it, but you don't have any empathy towards it. And I was like, damn, like, you're right. And she was like, why don't you have any empathy towards it? She was like, because you're mad. But you won't say you're mad. And I was like, damn, like, well, goddamn, you're right. But it got to a place where realizing like, wow, I don't express how much I had a conversation where I said I don't like minimizing who I am. I don't like making myself small to fit in your space, right? And then when I realized like I was the one making myself small by suppressing my anger, and then suppressing your anger turned into something completely different. I forgot the term for it, but it starts to project differently than how I feel. So now, let's for example, I'm in counseling and then everybody's calm. I'm like, what? No, and I'm giving facial expressions and things like that. Now realizing that I was like, I'm not mad. She's like, well, why'd you make the face? Because something hit me. What hit you? I thought I wasn't doing that. Okay, what came with that? It pissed me off because I was doing that. It's like, oh shit. So you do get mad. So understanding like that small phase of the things that I've seen when I was a kid, the things that I've seen as a teenager, the things I experienced in my adult life, I never liked to be the person to send anger. I've never wanted somebody else to deal with my anger. But as you get older, you start to see the suppressed anger starts to creep out, right? It starts to project in different ways. So I'm talking about this today, man, it made me realize like,
and not even just anger. Like I said, y'all, we've stated this multiple times. Males get told, stop crying. Then when despite you have every reason to cry, whether it be because you're so frustrated that that's the way that you expel that bad feeling, or whether it be because you're afraid, you're scared, whatever it may be, like you have every human reason to cry and you're told not to cry. So now here you are, an adult, unable to,
express your emotions properly
and cope with whatever you're going with in a healthy way, which sometimes crying is the healthy way. Because I'd rather you cry than go shoot something, punch something, be reckless and dangerous. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But that's more acceptable than crying. Like this is again where our childhood triggers what we do now.
Yeah.
Like if
and
we're
then
not
when you do that, you crazy.
But see, I think I told y'all that, like I said, I had seen this thing where they were like, every creature is born with the ability to get help, or to survive. I'm sorry, to survive. They were like, in humans, the first thing that we do when we are born is cry. What is that cry for? For something, for help, some way. Wash me, feed me, change me. Like that is what because we can't say wash me, feed me, change me, but that is the way, that is our first inclination of expressing that we have a need or that something is wrong or that something, whatever it may be. Like that's how that's our first instinct to express help. But then you hit a certain age and we tell you cut that off, stop crying because you what?
Yeah.
And now you a grown man and you're like, what do I do here?
Yeah.
How do I handle this here?
That's
Do I go
powerful
fight?
too.
You know what I'm saying?
That's powerful too, right? Because when you ignore that, like even think I thought farting in this thing. My bad. You lying right here. Oh my God, Javi. Whew, they burn your stomach. One of those. So when you get to a space when you suppress it, for me, suppressing my anger and suppressing things like crying and things like that, right? It doesn't allow you to get to and dig through it. It doesn't allow you to see where it's coming from. It doesn't allow you to see where you're triggered at because you're brushing it off immediately, right? So when you're doing that space, it's not when we're not crying. It's not in the space of like you feel like you really do feel like you don't need to cry about it, right? And then you really do feel like you get frustrated into a space with I'm not gonna let them fall because then that wins in your mind, right? Then so you have to teach yourself to get to a space of vulnerability. You gotta be okay with yourself. You got to be able to cry in front of yourself. You got to be able to understand like what I just cried for. I just cried because this is hard. All right, what's hard about it? Bang, 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 bang. How can I fix it? Either I can do something to fix it or I can't. Okay, now what's the move now? You know what I'm saying? Like I have to break everything like that out of my mind because it even helps with how I express my anger. All right. Mm-hmm. Why am I mad right now? Okay, first of all, what do I feel? I feel butterflies in my chest. Okay, I'm mad. You know what I'm saying? Like, why do I have these feelings? Because this happened. I understand, but you're breaking things down allow you to get to a space where you can kind of allows you to cope easier because now you're breaking them down, that elephant down into a space where you can swallow one piece at a time versus trying to take in everything, all this different stimulation, all these different messages from your brain, all these different feelings from your nervous system, and allows you to process and get to a place of logic. You know what I'm saying? Like, right. So they just, I agree, like, what they say, men are logical and women are emotional, but in today's society, you see a lot more emotionally logical men. You know
that's how I feel like I am. I'm emotionally logical, but I don't care.
And that's the best place to be. You know,
exactly.
People be like, I don't care about what people think. Yes, you do. Yes, you
do. I mean,
you saying you don't care about what people think is pretending to not care about what people think.
Facts.
Because if you didn't care what people think, why did you announce it?
But I'm honest enough with myself to say that I still care about certain things, but because I'm getting through it because, like I said, I grew up always caring about other people before myself.
But that's a good thing too, though, right? Because you think about it in a space that's a trait that a lot of our fathers and grandfathers didn't have naturally, and then that's a trait that also comes with being raised by primarily women. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's not a bad thing.
You learn to be nurturing.
You learn to be nurturers. You learn what impacts a woman. You learn how a woman going to respond and what this might do.
But you want to know why that's trauma? Because at 7, he shouldn't have been trying to protect his sister. That should have been her father's
But so
you know what I'm saying? And I don't know if her father was or wasn't in the home, but if that was the case, he could have been able to be 7 years old. So, we don't like the fact that even though it wasn't traumatic, that's trauma.
You know it is trauma.
It's trauma. It's like those were things that he learned. Like that was his coping. Like he should not have had. That's just like kids in Iraq and places like that where our kids today. We have kids that are conditioned to gunshots. It means nothing to them.
No,
my kids would be ducking for the hills. Like had her father been there, he'd have been having a whole conversation with this dude like it was his homeboy. He would not have felt those feelings of him having to protect her because he would have already been secure in the fact that she was protected by her father. You know what I'm saying?
I agree, right? I agree. I disagree a little bit. And I understand where you're coming from, but you're right. Kids, they can tell you how far the gunshot was away. They're like, hey, that was 2 blocks away. That was close, but they were shooting that direction now. You know what I'm saying? But like, I think naturally, as young boys, you are born with that as far as in your nature. Like when you think about
born with it though.
I don't.
It's
So
tough.
again, if her let me tell you why. Because if her father was there, you want to know what his thought probably would have been before it been. I gotta protect her. It would have been like, oh, don't mess with my sister for her daddy beat you up.
Not really.
Don't fuck with my
I'm
sister.
saying, like I was a knucklehead little boy, so I'm in there on purpose. Like, who are you? Like, what you doing with my mom?
Me too.
And where your daddy was at? And where your daddy was at?
My father wasn't around at that time.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
But I can also tell you that even with I had my grandfather.
You was a knucklehead little boy that was protecting your mother because your father wasn't there. Because one, them niggas that was dating your mother wouldn't have been there if your daddy was there. But any other dude that stepped in, oh, you better get away from my mommy for my daddy come.
But I can kind of think.
I agree with you 100%, K. Same situation.
But I can think back to at that time how I felt. Like, yeah, I agree that may have came from a place of trauma, but it wasn't in a space of. It was a space of, oh, I'm a man. Like I'm the boy.
As a little boy, you weren't a man, though. Do you understand what I'm saying?
No, I'm not saying
you were a little boy.
That's why I corrected what I said.
I'm not saying it's traumatic, but it was absolutely trauma. You were a little boy. You should have been able to.
That thought should have been the furthest thing from my head.
Those are that's adult thinking that you were doing as a little boy.
It wasn't. It was.
Let me tell you why. But let me tell you why. It had nothing to do with you being a knucklehead or a badass. It had everything to do with if I lose my mommy to some bullshit, what do I have left? What do I have left? If something happens to my mommy, because these dudes, I gotta protect my mommy, because if I don't have my mommy, who's going to protect me?
No, so I
as opposed to if you had your father there, then you would not have been concerned about protecting your mom. You would have been concerned. You wouldn't have been concerned about you protecting your mommy. You would have been like, you gotta come for my daddy come. You would have put that responsibility even
I wouldn't have. I'm telling you right now where I was.
On your daddy.
I'm telling you, I can remember back then. Like I said, the experience, and I may not have had that. I may not have responded that way, and I may have because I've been in a space of where there were other men in the space, but this is my mother. This is the space. Let's say something where somebody looked at my mother ass. I'm gonna turn around and stand behind you, not because I'm scared of something happening to my mother. Nigga, I don't want you to look. You know what I'm saying? Like
again, if your daddy was there. You wouldn't be thinking to protect, because your daddy would have already held it down. You could have been a kid, and that would have never been on your mind.
I say disagreement because outside of myself, I've seen boys that I grew up with who've had that dad and did the same thing in that space because they were taught to do that from their dad.
Because their daddy wasn't right there with them. That's what I'm saying is they didn't feel like they had to do that all the time. If that's just like when my kid, my kids got dads or whatever it may be, and even when we're all together. My son's dad, everybody know he do not play about me. You want to know why? Because if I ain't here, who gonna take care of his kid? He don't play about me. So when we're out, my son absolutely knows that he don't gotta worry about nothing with me. My daddy got it. Yeah. When his dad's not around, his dad does tell him, take care of your mother. But when his dad is around, that boy don't care about when I'm the least of his worries.
So again, it goes back to what you're taught. It's not always a problem.
Dudes be talking to me because me and his dad not together. Dudes be talking to me, and if his dad could be watching it, he'll be looking like, oh, well, my mom's good because my dad ain't about to let nothing happen to her. He don't feel like the responsibility's on him. We're not together, but he gets to be a kid when his dad's around.
I'm speaking from where I didn't feel like it was responsibility. I felt like that I was going to put myself there so you can see me. Whether my father was there, my grandfather was there, my uncle, and now you're going to see me too. You know what I'm saying? In space. So I understand what you're saying as far as like being but that's a role that we're taught too. Like you said, if your dad is in the house, if he's not with you or he's not, you're the man in the house right now. You're the brother. You got to protect it. So me coming from a space of being an older sibling, I've always had that space of it ain't just them. I'm taught that how we grew up, and so it is a thing. It may be a thing of what we're taught to survive, and not necessarily a trauma. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just
that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying it's traumatic. I'm just saying it's a trauma in the space where you should have been worried about the cartoons that was coming in if your drawers was clean, not what your mama was doing. He shouldn't have been sitting there having the what's your intentions with my sister conversation at 7. You know what I'm saying? That shouldn't have been a thought that he should have seen this dude there and nothing. It should have been nothing. He should have been able to walk in the door. Oh, my dad got it. Oh, you better have my sister here, but my dad gonna whip your ass. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what it looks like. You know what I'm saying? That's literally what it looks like when you have that like, again, it's not that it's a traumatic, but it is definitely it's a shaper. It is a shaper because he had to be the man of the house. That to him, that looked like he had to sacrifice himself, meaning whatever he had to put himself
for me to put myself in that role, for you to put yourself in that role, that means we saw a deficit.
Yes.
And we tried to fill that deficit with ourselves.
Yeah, say it. There it is. And so
she's 100% correct.
I get what y'all saying. I get what y'all saying. I just can't fully say it was a deficit on my end. I'm saying like it was in the space of just.
It didn't feel like a deficit.
No, I'm telling you from where I was coming from. I'm telling you from where I was coming from. I could have been in the space of where everybody could talk to this dude, and everybody. I was the last person to hold now. Oh yeah, I'm the son, or I'm the nephew. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't in the space of. It was like now you see me too. Now I'm a level you got to get through too. It wasn't always in the space of trauma or survival. It was also something that I've seen men do on TV shows or movies and things like that outside of being told them what to see. So it was something where you're taught to. Clyde, you alright? Somebody coming through your door, bro?
Man, it's something going on.
You by the front door, you better get to the.
Right, get under the table. Get under the table, bro.
Right. This is my back door.
Oh, that's hey, get away from that joint. No, but I get what y'all saying.
He in a spot in the house where the Wi-Fi is the best.
Literally.
No, I got you, bro.
But
I see what y'all saying. But
like you said, with the like being the older sibling, a lot of times people don't realize. Cause I had to go see a client who was the older sibling, and that's a trauma for them. Being an older sibling because they didn't get the chance to be a teenager. They didn't get the chance to be a kid because their mama or their parents was out doing whatever and they home cooking, cleaning, doing hair. They being that's a big role for a kid. Like no 9-10-year-old should be responsible for raising their siblings. You should be a kid. You feel me? And a lot of times it's not that our parents putting us in a situation like they doing what they feel like is best. So it ain't 100% their fault, but we ain't asked to be born either. So don't blame me or not blame me, but put me in a position where I got to do your job for you so you can take care of all of us. Like it don't work like that.
I mean,
let me tell you where the trauma of that comes in.
It did because that's how we was raised.
But wait a minute, but let me tell you where the trauma in that comes from. So like my kids are 10 years apart. My youngest and my middle are 10 years apart. My youngest and my oldest are 13 years apart. So if I be like, hey, can you watch your brother while such? If they said no, I had to accept that. You want to know why? Because it ain't they kid.
Ain't they kid? Yeah.
But that's not what we do. What I say, you going such and such. Now we've made it traumatic. It went from being, and the part of it that was traumatic was it went from being a choice to a demand. So anytime you place an unwanted demand on somebody, that's violating. You violate their right to say no. That's the part. So that's why I said all trauma doesn't have to be traumatic. But
so now they don't know when to say no.
Or they feel like they have to do that. They have to take care. Mommy's not here. I gotta take care of you. See what I'm saying? Mommy keep that. That's why kids be like, please don't have no more kids.
It's a comment.
In their head, they think that they're going to have to raise another child. They think they're going to have to take care of. They don't see it as, oh, we get to be a sibling again. They see it as, oh, we gotta, this now I can't do such and such because now I gotta help mommy raise this child. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the part where I say trauma don't have to be traumatic.
That's facts.
And
because now they build and that builds resentment.
Right, absolutely. That's the traumatic part. That's the traumatic part.
And now you wonder why that older sibling get to a certain age and leave the house and want to deal with their siblings.
Don't have kids. My oldest son, so their father ended up having like way more kids. And when they would be with their father, that was one of the things. My oldest son was like, I don't want no children for a long time. Like, I'm so done with, and he probably watched his younger brother maybe 2 or 3 times his whole life because y'all, these ain't your kids.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If I did ask you and I was like, can you please just help me out? I gotta go to work. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because you got rights too. If you
Yeah.
say no, then
Facts.
guess what? I gotta figure it out because I chose them. So
Facts. Facts.
and that's my responsibility. You know what I'm saying? So it would be I remember one time my son told me, I'm like, dang, I gotta figure it out, like I gotta do such and such, like I gotta make sure that I gotta do it by myself. And when he was like, yeah, but I gotta make sure that I go to school too. I gotta make sure that I didn't even consider, just because he was a child, I didn't consider that he got shit to do.
He got to process himself. Right.
Yeah.
I agree with y'all on that one. I agree. But when you think back into it, like it's survival too, because you look at it in a space where, especially when I was in the school
Most
system,
of it is survival, though. Like most of it is survival.
Yeah. No, so I'm saying,
It
you're put in a situation where you have no choice, because think about like the population, the community that I was in last school year, right? Now a lot of the parents, their kids they had to do that because, number one, they worked these crazy hour jobs. They didn't have transportation. They're totally dependent on the older child to do that, and it kind of goes into the space from this generation on down backwards, man, where when our great grandparents had kids, they was out there working on the land with the family. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it is a trauma. It's a major trauma, and it's a place that is also survival too. So it goes to show you that
if we didn't learn nothing from the pandemic, we learned that school is our favorite babysitter.
And that's all. And then unfortunately, now you see at the level of as a low level babysitter. It's because
yes, absolutely. Because when we were homeschooled, we had the one-on-one attention to give them to help them learn that. But now we sending them back into a classroom full of 32 kids. 19 of them got ADHD.
The teacher don't have control. The principal don't have control. You're mediating everything, and you're passing everybody.
It's a war zone in there. It is a distracting, overstimulating war zone.
Public school is an education. It's an experience. Right? It's nothing. It's not too much educational now. These kids are going to be able to use when they get out of school, that they're learning right now in the public school system. It's nothing they can use except maybe the simple equations. Everything is taught in a confusing way to where even now as parents, we can barely help our kids with the math that we know. You know what I'm saying? Like, all this stuff is created to have us in a space of like this and not paying attention to the things that we need to be paying attention to. Hence the reason why
that's why they out here talking about these kids ain't smart, or they ain't paying attention, because they know these
kids are smart, but they're not taught where to put that energy. These kids are the smartest. This is one of the smartest generations that we've ever seen.
They're not being taught any valuable lessons. Again, like I said, they're not being taught about debt. They're not being taught about life lessons.
No, they're not giving any direction. They're not giving direction. They're giving material. They're giving indoctrination. They're giving you information that useless knowledge.
That's outdated, right?
You know what I'm
saying? They're not being taught trades. They're not being taught things like that.
But it's not just the impact. Just think about how bad this is, because now if we got to a place where we allow that to happen as parents, right? A lot of us are parents that are involved, right? If we got to a place of allowing the schools to get to that space, we got to a space where we're so damaged and so traumatized that most of us don't even realize who we are going into a relationship, right? Then you got to worry about your job. And most of the times you're living in debt or living check to check, or you're working 2 jobs just to make ends meet. You were living in a traumatic life, right? Where, like we're saying, that people are saying, like, there's a mental illness going on, that people are killing themselves higher than usual. Look around. Who wants to stay a part of this shit right here? You know what I'm saying? Like, you're you're in a space where your kids, like, you know what your kids need, but you can't get it to them because you're distracted by your work hours. You know what you need, but you can't get it to yourself because you're distracted by everything else that's needed by you and needed your attention. You want a relationship with this person, but you're so caught up in the fact that if you can't be too negative because you're going to take me down with you, and I can't go down. I can't afford to go down. So everybody's in the space and everyone's in defense mode. You know what I'm saying? Like, in a space where we're not allowing ourselves to get to a space where we're learning our kids. We're learning what makes them tick. We're learning why they have ADHD. We're learning what's triggering that ADHD. We're not in the space of triggering why our spouse or our significant other is in the space of depression, because we're too worried about how we feeling. We're too worrying about if we're going to make the rent next month. Okay, we just got this house. Are we going to be able to hold on to this house for the next 2 years? How long? Mm-hmm. We got so many things, man, that keep us in the space of, we talk about, that keep us out of order on purpose. You got all these different arguments. Nobody's coming together or anything. So it's, when you're looking at it, just what the kids are experiencing in school, and if you really stop and listen to what they're saying, these kids make a lot of sense. I have kids. Like I said last year, I had kids in they learn off their phones. Hey, it's facts, Clark. They learn more off their phone, but and they realize that they have a gauge now to see. Okay, I see all this going on, but you talking about this. Go ahead, bro.
I need to step out right quick.
Go ahead, you got. You get into that space where these kids see the things, they see life happening on their phone at the speed of life. And they come into these classrooms and realizing that they have disrespectful teachers, they have incompetent teachers, they have incompetent school workers, they have incompetent counselors. You got people in a space that don't want to be there and already coming into a space where they're using what they think about you. You know what I'm saying? What they think you know. So I'll never forget, man. I was working in the school system in Baltimore City when one of the science teachers, I was talking to another one of the science teachers, and another one came out of nowhere and kind of chimed in the conversation. And we were talking about one of my students losing their cousin that day, and she was like, "Aren't they used to that? Like heartless." So when you think about like, damn, like what the fuck is going on in the world where you can't, just because the color of this little boy's skin and where he's from, you can't relate to how it feels if you lost your closest cousin or your sibling? What the fuck is going on in this world? What's really happening here? And today, this was Suicide Month, right? Awareness Month, and September was. And I purposely didn't post too much on that because it's not something that you teach throughout the month. It's something you teach throughout the year. And it's not just something that's happening in the U.S. If you take a look, it's happening globally. I was going to say, my man, my Clyde over there good, bro. No, I'm popping.
I know. I was like, they got him.
So, but when you sit back and you hear these kids tell you, like, Coach, they ain't teaching me nothing. Hey, Coach, she racist as hell. But my mother don't believe me. Hey, Coach, this dude, he don't know what the hell he talking about. I asked him how to do a math problem. He told me I was the problem. You know what I'm saying? Like, so when you hearing that, when you hearing these interactions with these kids and you see how they're responding, these kids are rebelling of because they know they're not getting what they're supposed to get. You know that we're cheating them everywhere around, from parents down to the school system, down to the communities that we have that's supposed to be serving them, down to the government that's supposed to be teaching them and raising them as that legit future and not as a problem. You know what I'm saying? So these kids are coming up with the mindset they're supposed to have. They're supposed to be in a space of rebellion, but the one thing they're missing is enough people in that space to guide that and show them, like, bro, like, yeah, life is fucking traumatic, dog, but don't crash out. You know what I'm saying? Right. Don't bring more pain to somebody else. You're already in an effed up situation now, but I guarantee you at the age of 12 or 13, bro, the decisions you make now will tear your whole life apart if you let it. So it's just scary, man, where, you know what I'm saying? Like, the place of life that we're in is scary, and I do feel like it is repairable, but I think we got a long way to go, man. Just look at what the fuck is going on in politics right now. It's a WWE show. It's entertainment.
It's been that.
But it's even more obvious now.
Go ahead.
It's even more obvious, man. But now look, I was supposed to call it 18 minutes ago.
I was gonna say I'm trying to hang in with y'all. I've been going to bed early. Y'all got me up past my bedtime tonight.
Nah, we good. Hey, I appreciate you hopping on, man. Welcome back.
Absolutely. Look, he talking about it's time to go. Look at him. He ready. He ready to go outside. Look.
Let's go, man.
That's my cue.
Look, I'll get up with y'all, man.
All righty.
Next Thursday. Thanks for tuning in, folks. I hope y'all got some nice conversation. Clark, man, thanks for the comments, bro.
Thanks, Clark.
We out.
Appreciate you, brother.
All right, now.